ready? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's study session for the City of Casa Grande. And I think the first item on our agenda, we'll call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is our presentation and discussion relating to the city's proposed food truck ordinance. Larry, you going to set this up, or is it Paul?
It's actually Mr. Weaver.
Oh, Mr. Weaver.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody's here to talk about the food truck ordinance, so this is exciting. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to talk about the proposed mobile food vendor ordinance. About a year ago, we have heard some concerns brought up by the local food truck vendors about our process and how much they were being charged. The city hosted a meeting and invited all mobile food vendors to attend. The purpose of the meeting was to learn what the concerns were and how we could address them. We learned that for years we'd charged the regular TPT license of $70, and last year we charged $170. In addition, the peddlers are required to fingerprint. So many of the food truck vendors were saying they didn't fit the category of a temporary merchant and thought they should have their own category. In addition, the state legislature has passed laws of which they can, what they can and cannot do, which creates even more confusion. So the reason we're coming before you tonight, some of it's, years ago we only had maybe one or two food trucks, and now we have quite a few. So staff determined that the best option was to develop a new food truck ordinance focused on mobile food vendors. Both the city and the food truck vendors needed some clarity. And it just happened that the League of Arizona Cities developed a model food truck ordinance that we used in the process of developing ours. After completing the draft, we sent it back out to all the mobile food vendors and asked for comments. We received two comments. One was based on the length of the trailer, and the other had to do with making sure that we're following state statutes, and both were addressed in our ordinance. So to give you an example of what happened, last year, earlier this year, the police got a call from the DMV office in Casa Grande asking them to remove a food truck that was parked in their parking lot. Police responded and told the food truck vendors they needed to leave, and they refused because of the state statute. The police reviewed the state code, which states it prohibits or restricts a mobile food vendor from using a legal parking space. Well, there is no definition to what a legal parking space is, so no one knew what that meant. So there was no definition as to what that was, so the police left and stated more research needed to be done. So this is why we're bringing this food truck ordinance to make it clear. So tonight we're simply giving the council an opportunity to review some of the highlights of it and see if you have any changes to it. So let's first start off with what is a legal parking space. It means an area designated for vehicle parking in the city right-of-way that is paved and may be delineated by road surface markings. It does not include a parking space in a parking lot on a property owned by the city or any other non-right-of-way city-owned parking space. So an example of this would be in our downtown. You have the street, you have the shoulder off to the side, it's got a little designated parking spot. A food truck could park there, that's a legal parking space. In one of our parking lots, it would not, and we'll talk about later what the process will be if they want to do it on a city-owned lot. So what are some of the licensing requirements according to the ordinance? The first thing is they have to have a state of Arizona TPT license. Second is a state mobile food truck license. 3 is a valid Pinal County health approval to operate a mobile food unit. Third is a valid fire inspection conducted within the preceding 12 months. And fourth, a valid business tax receipt from the city. So where can they park? They can't park in a single-family residential zone unless they're a vending, ice cream, or frozen food novelty, and they can't park there within 300 feet of the same location for more than 1 hour at a time during an 8-hour period. So that's basically the people that are driving around selling ice cream. So they can park for a period of no more than 1 hour in an 8-hour period. They can get permission of a private property owner. So within a residential zone, if they get permission from the private property owner, let's say I'm going to have a party over my house, they can have a food truck come there, park in front of their house or in their lot, and you can't have more than 4 of those per calendar year, and no more than 3 mobile food units operating on private residential property at any one time, just to kind of avoid the congestion. Third, operating on a non-residential private property with written permission and obtain a temporary use permit from the city. The temporary use permit is something we've used for a while now, and it's basically to make sure that they're in the right areas, zoning, making sure that they're getting the proper licenses, and that's operating on a private property. They can park adjacent to a public park and only on the side of the street of the park. So example, at Carl McNatt, you got Brown, you head down to the Aquatic Center, they could park on the left-hand side where the park is, but they can't park on the right-hand side where all the residential is. If there's a special event issued by the city, they can do that. So on city-owned property, they can operate in a legal parking space like the side of the street, like we talked about before, or to operate on a city property besides a legal parking space like City Hall parking lot. The mobile food vendor would have to get permission from the city. Right now, it puts myself as the person that has to prove that, or designee, and they need to request that within 96 hours in advance. Mobile food units shall not occupy a legal parking space for more than 6 hours in a 24-hour period. And then if they're on a private property, all they have to get is a written permission of that property owner and obtain a TUP license, which is a temporary use permit. So our next step, that's the highlights. It's pretty short. It's not a very long ordinance, but it's shortened to the point. Our next step is we'll bring the first reading to the council meeting, the first meeting in November, and if that's passed, it should be in effect for starting January 1st. So, are there any questions?
Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen, actually, I have a couple of them. You mentioned that for city property, that a parking space was defined, but how does that address the original issue at MVD on state property? Does it address that directly?
Well, this only applies for city lots. And so I think the interpretation was that we thought it was public property, since DMV is public property. We assumed that it applied to both, but for our ordinance, it's only specific to city-owned properties.
What it does is it defines legal parking space as those that we have in the right-of-way.
Yeah.
And so if it's not there, it's not a legal parking space, and they don't have an absolute right to do that. They can
They'd have to
park
get permission.
anywhere if they can get permission of the property owner.
Okay.
So from a DMV parking lot, if they want to go to the county parking lot, they need to go to the county, they need to go to the DMV. If they get that permission as well as a TUP, which is a very easy process for them to obtain, and it's not specific to locations. If they're going to be here, the TUP allows them to go to different locations as well. So it's not, we try not to be cumbersome. But it would take care of that because without the property owner's permission, they can't just park anywhere.
Okay. And I still have a couple more. The residential limitation of 1 hour, is that with the property owner's permission or without? And ultimately, my question is, could the ice cream truck park in front of my house for up to an hour?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and they actually have that under our peddlers now. So
Oh.
we're just adding it in there just to make it relatively clear. But the food vendors have a different piece for when they're using a legal parking space. And to the point that Mr. Weaver made, there's a difference between what those are. And so we delineate to sort of say, as the mobile food vendor said, and this is very consistent, we use the league ordinance as a model to define what was a mobile food vendor. And we decided ice cream trucks really aren't that, because they're gonna drive around your neighborhood, try to pull up in front of your house, right? Use the things and have the kids or me come running out to, to use that. Food trucks don't normally do that, because one, they really don't even want to be in the residential areas for the most part, unless they know that somebody's going to be there and going to have people there. So the 1 hour limitation is for the ice cream trucks. The food truck has the 6 hour limitation for any given one parking spot.
Okay. And lastly, the first time I started hearing about this, it was because of the fees that we were charging and how those compared to other communities. Have we addressed that issue, or is that part of this, or?
Yes, so that is one thing that we're going to address. We'll put it in the fee schedule, but we're going to keep it at the 75 of what it was before.
Okay.
So it's not going up to the 170. That was, per truck.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Lisa?
And I'm just happy we're at this point, because I know all of us have, people have expressed their concerns. And so I'm glad we're at this point to review the ordinance and make it clear. I wanted to see if, when you were meeting with these vendors, do you feel this ordinance, did you bring this to them? Do they feel that everything is taken care of and you've answered some of the questions and concerns that they've had?
Yes, we sent this ordinance out to all of them, just like we did
Okay.
in the initial meeting, and we got those 2 comments. Other than that, they said they were happy to see it.
Okay. And then as far as, did you say you did receive something from the League of Cities and Towns as far as when you drafted this ordinance? Is it similar? Because they compared us to other cities too.
Yeah.
So we're pretty comparable to the other cities and what's going on.
Yeah, at least
Okay.
the base ordinance
Okay.
is very similar. Every city has different regulations. One of the options that the ordinance has is to do full licensing, where they have to be fingerprinted and everything else before they come into town.
Right.
We didn't go down that option, because they're going to have their license from the state, and if they're going to be here for a day or two, it didn't make that much sense to do that, so we can bring in some of those outside food vendors who want to be here for a couple of days.
Okay. Thank you.
Stephen, I just want to confirm, because I know Bob asked the question about, with the MVD, how that came to them. And so it put our law enforcement kind of in a sticky place of what they could and couldn't do. Is this ordinance going to be good for them so that they have the authority to do? Or do we still need to work with those others like MVD and those other places to help them understand, so we don't have law enforcement in that predicament again?
Yeah, so simply what they're going to have to do is just make sure they get permission from the property owner. And that's what it states in for us too. So if they want to use any of the city parking lots, they have to contact us. We give permission for them to allow to use that. That would be the same with the state.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Seeing no other comments, and thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
I did want to make a general statement in that this is a study session, and typically we don't do a call to the public at our study sessions, so, and we are not going to do that tonight. These are work sessions. This will come back up on a city council agenda, and then at that point in time, then there'll be opportunity for people to make comment on the food trucks. Same thing for the streetscape tonight. We will have additional public meetings on this, however, so there'll be other opportunities for people to make comments. Plus, you can send in your comments to the council. I think we're actually going to have, or hopefully have, an email address that we can collect all of these comments at, so they're all consistent in one spot. So hopefully, if that's what you're here for, we'll be able to allow you to make public comments on that email, and also at a later time when we do a public meeting. All right, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is item 2, and this is a presentation and discussion on the updated Florence Boulevard streetscape project. And I believe Planning and Zoning, Joe, are you doing the presentation?
I will begin the presentation, and then our consultants will do the heart of the presentation.
Okay.
So, you can sit up front and then come on. All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is the study session for the Florence Boulevard Streetscape Conceptual Design. The Florence Boulevard Streetscape Design Project is intended to be a transformative project for the city of Casa Grande by creating a full streetscape design from I-10 to Pinal Avenue. It's intended to enhance the image and quality of life for the city of Casa Grande and its residents. City leadership, citizens, and stakeholders have played an important role in developing the design concept. The project incorporates street layout, landscape, hardscape, parking, signage, branding, and other design aspects of the streetscape and transportation design. It is designed to create and incorporate a strong multimodal transportation configuration to include pedestrian sidewalks, bike lanes, and automobiles. So how did we get here? First, we look at the City Council strategic plan, and there's a couple of sections within that strategic plan that specifically hit onto this project. First one is the community connection. And the first one is, under that, is creating an image of the city that residents rate favorably. Second is an image to attract residents to live and visit Casa Grande. And under that one is actually develop the Florence Boulevard Corridor Plan, which this is what we're here for. And the last one is to create an image of the city that businesses rate favorably and develop a downtown revitalization plan. So this will play off of that downtown, we believe, to a certain degree and help revitalize that downtown. The second section that we hit on was the community enhancement section, and it's construct and improve quality of life infrastructure and facilities. And then underneath that was a plan and execute city entrance sign improvements. So we'll cover some of the signage a little bit later. Then economic expansion is the next section we hit on. And it's implement the City of Casa Grande's 2030 general plan. And we'll cover a little bit more on that general plan as well. Next is enhance art and culture within the city. There's an art section of this entire project as well. And then health and safety community environment. So increase citizens' sense of security. There's lighting associated with this, and there's certainly a safety factor associated with this project. And then advance the healthy community initiative. We've got a lot more pedestrian and bike-friendly aspects of this Florence Boulevard's streetscape that will help lead to that. Looking at the City of Casa Grande's General Plan 2030 project, the proposed project supports multiple goals and action steps and development standards developed within that 2030 general plan. There's too many to list here tonight, so we did provide you a list of that within the packet that you received. And it's potentially seen as a catalyst to the Florence Boulevard revitalization and enhancement of the city's overall image. And again, the key goal in my mind is that improve Casa Grande's internal and external image. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, but that to me is the key goal of this. We also took citizen input. So we did a website survey a little over a year ago. The goal was to see how the residents felt about the town and what they'd like to see with this project. We got a lot of comments on that, and I know we've provided you copies of that in the past. But there are certain comments like it wants to be more like Chandler and Gilbert, wants to have more pedestrian focus, wants to have more landscape, add parking along the street, improve the appearance, lighting, fix traffic, public transportation, business, bike lanes, and then we even got some that said do nothing. Don't do anything. So not the most helpful comment probably, but it was in there. We also held an open house back in December, on December 12th of 2022 last year. We sent out 662 postcards to owners and physical addresses along the entire streetscape. We had 65 attendees. We had 26 comment cards, 15 were positive, 6 were negative, and 5 were neutral. So in the conceptual design, I'm going to go ahead and pass off to our consultant, J2, who's helped along with this entire process. So Kurt and Jeff from J2 will be presenting. Jeff Velasquez is up at the podium.
Thanks, Joe. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for your time for having us here. It's been a long journey kind of getting ideas and putting out concepts and studying this 4-mile corridor. So we'll be brief and respectful of your time. Kurt and I will both be presenting a few slides here. So what's included in this design, as you see, it's really multimodal transportation. So it's designed for the vehicles, make the vehicles and the traffic work, designed for pedestrians, more pedestrian friendly, designed for bicycles and make it a safer condition. Lighting, pavement, art, signage, landscape and drainage, water harvesting, getting a better tree system and healthy street trees, and site amenities like seating, shade, and patios are all an important part of this whole scheme. We came to you about 7-8 months ago and kind of presented some initial imagery. You see some of that across the top on lighting in this instance, and in the lower photos there, the images are of renderings of what the lighting might look like. So we want to improve lighting with LED, energy efficient lighting, and have that be a safer corridor all the way through. Pavement, we showed you some pavement images from the top there, and then implementing those in some of the design imagery on the bottom, or some renderings showing just kind of how some of those ideas and the input that we got really could start to establish themselves, and creating a true sense of place and a real point of pride for the streetscape as well. Art is an essential element in any kind of streetscape downtown area. Certainly we want to kind of build on that and creating space for art, some imagery throughout, and on the right side you see a few renderings what that art system may be kind of tying into the neon sign park, really kind of creating a true sense of place with specific images that speak to Casa Grande and not to any other community, but really kind of telling your story. And then signage. Kurt will talk about this in a little while, but really kind of creating images that kind of speak to the sense of place and announcing this is Casa Grande, this is your entry, and doing that potentially at multiple points throughout the corridor. Seating and shade will be critical elements, kind of creating that space along the streetscape. The top are photos that we showed you 6, 7, 8 months ago. On the bottom, lower renderings of what shade systems and seating and coffee tables and those type of things might look like on the Florence Boulevard streetscape are there for you to view. So the segments. So we've talked about kind of dividing this into 3 different segments. And the long story short is there's a freeway segment to the east, Hennis to I-10. That'll be pretty much a 7-lane condition, really 3 lanes in each direction with a middle turn lane that also serves as a median here and there. There's a middle midtown zone, which is the biggest zone. That's from Brown on the west to Hennis on the east. That's about 2 3/4 miles or so. That'll be essentially a 5-lane condition, 2 in each direction with a middle turn lane that serves as a median. And then there's the downtown area. It's about 0.6, a little bigger than half a mile in length. That is a 3-lane condition proposed, 1 in each direction with a middle turn lane with no medians. So you would have an open turn lane all the way through to facilitate traffic and flow. And at Brown to the west, as you get towards Pinnell, it would open back up into the 5-lane condition, almost like the Midtown zone as it is now. So the freeway zone, really 6 lanes of flowing traffic, 1 lane in the middle that serves as the turn lane and a median. And you've seen these images before. It's a wide pedestrian sidewalk on both sides of the street, separated bike lanes. They're in green here for this image, just so you can see it. It doesn't have to be painted green. The design hasn't happened, but yet, it's just conceptual. There'll be enhanced mid-block crossings, a robust street tree system, and then those tree areas will be water harvesting. So the drainage of the road would be aimed towards those street tree systems to create a much healthier street tree environment, keep it as moist as possible, and kind of utilizing the natural rainfall. The second segment in Midtown Zone, the largest segment, would be a 5-lane condition if you count that middle turn lane. The medians, this is just conceptual. We would work in engineering and design as to kind of creating those median cuts to facilitate traffic and turning, but it is a safety aspect. You still have the separated bike lanes. You still have a robust street tree system with a water harvesting and enhanced pedestrian crossings. And then in the downtown zone right now, the proposal is to have a 3-lane condition, balance vehicular, pedestrian, bicycle traffic all the way through. a robust street tree system, still getting some water harvesting. Separated bike lanes still work here in this condition because we're creating more space on the balance between the asphalt and the sidewalks. Enhanced intersection graphics, larger kind of pedestrian nodes, and adding on-street parking. We're adding about 79, 80 spaces throughout the downtown that don't exist now in terms of the on-street parking. You'll see kind of imagery, signage, art all the way through the presentation, and we're trying to really kind of create a space that speaks to Casa Grande. You'll hear over and over again, kind of tailoring this whole layout to the story that is here. And right now, I think that the neon sign park and really kind of creating some of that imagery and building it into the signage, building it into some of the tiles, seat walls and such, and coffee tables will be a really important part. But really creating a link between the historic downtown area to the south, and part of General Plan 2030 is really kind of linking that to the north and creating that enhanced downtown area is something that has been a city goal, and this streetscape would certainly achieve that. Really lane reduction or right sizing, facts and benefits, enhanced safety. Of course, you're slowing down traffic. Right now, they're pretty wide lanes and there's a lot of asphalt, and you're encouraging traffic to kind of fly through. Multimodality, we've talked about that: bicycles, pedestrians, skateboards, vehicles. Expanded sidewalks, you can add all of that different thing like on-street dining, patios, art, all of that. Local economy boost, from all the other examples that we've seen doing kind of complete streets and road right sizing around the state. It's been an incredible economic boost, of course. Resilient infrastructure, stormwater harvesting, improved user experience, and imageability. I think Joe Horn just talked about that, really kind of creating an image and a sense of pride and a point of pride for your downtown environment. Kind of facts and benefits of what kind of the downtown zone. In a study of 37 reduction projects, safer streets is an important thing, kind of creating a safer environment, reducing collisions, encouraging more multimodal transportation, healthier community, encouraging pedestrian activity that often encourages growth of economics, and bicycle trips increased, really kind of tying into that Florence Boulevard bike lane and separated bike lanes all the way through the whole 4 miles from the east to the west. In terms of safety, these are injury-only crashes along Florence Boulevard, and I think one of the things we always ask ourselves is the corridor working the way we want it to work for the city right now? And this graphic kind of points to no. Fatalities over 2007 to 2022, there have been 10 fatalities in the area of the downtown zone, basically from Brown to I believe this is Pinnell over to Brown. There's other data there, but 1 or 2 fatalities over that term, to us is quite a lot. I think this kind of speaks volumes to, hey, we need to do something to slow traffic and make it a little more of a balance between pedestrians and vehicles in this area. In terms of traffic, it's a big factor. We wouldn't propose something that isn't going to work. We want to make sure that we're looking at all of that. So we have Scott Kelly from Greenlight Traffic here today. He ran a robust traffic study and report here over the last year or so. Basically, in terms of Florence itself, you have a maximum daily capacity in the road right sizing going from 5 to 3 lanes. You have a max capacity of about 20,000 vehicles per day. The average annual right now on the high end is about 14,000 in your peak. So we do have capacity there with an extra capacity on the top left of about 6,000 vehicles. In the red in the middle, McMurray has a maximum daily capacity of about 15,000 average daily trips. Right now you're getting about 5,000 on McMurray, so there is some flexibility in having some rerouting if you had other vehicles that didn't want to come through the downtown. And on Cottonwood, you have max daily capacity of about 30,000 with current traffic at about 17. So on the top left portion of this graphic, you're seeing about 29,000 vehicle trips a day in capacity through this whole 3 boulevard corridor that you could. So there are other alternatives, but Florence itself can handle the traffic. We're going to play a simulation. This traffic simulation done by Scott Kelly, the consultant, was taken from December 2022 in kind of peak season on a weekday at 4 p.m. And what you're going to see are different cars modeled through the proposed streetscape that you just saw slides of. And so this goes essentially around from Treckle, you're seeing here, to the west towards Pinal, and we'll show kind of the actual numbers that were taken in December 2022 and how those numbers reflect on an improved streetscape. When you see a stop bar in red, like on the right side of that intersection, that's a red light. Obviously, the green is a green light. And these are actual real numbers taken from that peak day in December on a weekday at 4 p.m. So this pans and then it kind of stops. The animation will stop here over Morrison, kind of showing you turning movements. It shows stacking at a red light when it occurs. There's even some in and out through businesses, and those are actual models of that traffic study taken from December of 2022. This is at Cameron, right by City Hall. It's a red light then going to green, east-west. This is heading west towards the Arbor and the west end of the project. At that time, it would go out to the 5 lanes and then meet Pinal in the current scenario. This kind of fits the model that we saw in downtown Tolleson that we did in 2012, 2013, 2014. It was about 11 to 12,000 average daily trips. They went from 5, the old Yuma Highway, to 3, and the traffic looks pretty much identical to this, even in the peak of the November, December, January timeframe. One of the big things is economic development. I think this isn't just beautification, it just isn't sustainability, it isn't just point of pride, but in terms of economic development, obviously the numbers are the true factor, and what you're trying to build here is not for the next 5 years or 10 years, you're really looking at the next 50 to 100 years after we're all gone. You want to have success leading into the future. Higher employment levels, new business generation, higher property values, and private investment is what you're really looking to. You're looking to seed this with city and then let it go. And that's what we're seeing in other areas like Chandler and Tolleson. City of Page is going on this same route here 2 weeks ago with their council vote. In City of Chandler, bigger city, not too far from here, but we heard input, like Joe said, from comment cards on, we'd like to be a little more like, have some more options, have some more restaurants and destination like Chandler and Gilbert. In Chandler, in 09, 2010, before the project of their kind of streetscape, Complete Street, was built, their downtown tax revenue was about $723,000 annually. The numbers here that you can get from Kim Moyer's downtown over there is about 2.1 million in fiscal year 21-22. Not necessarily comparable because of the size of the community, but if you look at a ratio in terms of what, if the city puts out infrastructure first, sometimes they say build it and it will come. You can see some pretty astounding long-term economic, safety, and enhancement benefits to a downtown revitalization. Testimonies, we can find the testimonies all over. In downtown Tolleson, it's really interesting to see, 500 new housing units going in there in a city of 7,000 people. 12 business facades happened within the first few years after their project was built. 6 new businesses took place, and all those same restaurants that we ate in as a construction team are still there, Fuego and Irma's and Tamales Guadalajara, and they've now expanded onto on-street dining and done some really, really cool things in the downtown Tolleson area if you haven't taken a look at it. But there's testimonials, you can go up and down in Tolleson and see very similar infrastructure improvement. Kurt's going to walk you through some specifics and some imagery. It's all yours.
Hi. Thank you. I'm Kurt Montai with J2 Design, and I'm just going to walk you through a few of the imageries here. This photo here was taken around spring of 2022, and then we also have a rendering of what it's going to look like. So I'll be showing you a lot of before and afters. So this is implementing some of the ideas that Jeff was just talking about with the art, the lighting, and public space. So this will kind of populate here. This is a rendering of what that lane reduction would look like. It shows the enhanced bicycle areas, the landscape, widened sidewalks down through the corridor, all the way down to Brown, as Jeff was showing. Here's a before image. This is the former Whataburger site, and we use this site to do a rendering of what it could look like afterwards. And again, you can see the art like on a mural with the building next door, the enhanced landscape, bicycle lanes to go down through for the multimodal of that, and just some possibilities of outdoor dining. These are just conceptual ideas, but it incorporates the ideas that we have shown in the past with those items. This is the Jimmy Kerr Plaza. This is a before, and this is a concept of what it could look like. And again, just a concept with kiosks. There's seating areas, kind of an open patio area that they could have outdoor dining or just seating areas. Create an art space or an art walk. And then there's also murals on the building next door there too. So providing a lot of opportunity. There's Los Sombrero before, and there's an after. So it's just kind of the enhancements that we were just talking about before. The enhanced landscape, the separation of the bike lanes, dedicated turn lane here for the drive-through window, and just some other enhancements, and a larger outdoor seating area and dining area that they could expand on with the lane reduction that provides ample space for additional outdoor dining and pedestrian walkways. Here's another image just looking west. Here you can see the enhanced pavement in the intersection, the separated bike lanes again, murals, and just outdoor dining, and the possibility or the concept of the corridor. Here we are at what I call 5 Points or Herman Plaza. This is the existing as it is now, and then as an image, a couple of images that Jeff had shown earlier. Here's the Casa Grande entry to the historic downtown at 5 Points. And this could be implemented in the area, also with neon. The lighting, the slide that Jeff was showing kind of had different neons. You could change the lighting to be for Christmas or 4th of July, any of the other holidays that you could show and program. Here's a night view of the historic downtown signage that we're implementing and proposing for the site. And it's really just kind of updating and providing that image of downtown Casa Grande. Joe, I believe you're on the next step. Do you need this?
Thanks, Kurt. So just covering the next steps. So we will be on November 2nd going to Planning Commission with this very similar presentation to them. Following that, we'll be going to a Planning Commission for their recommendation. Then we'll do a City Council consideration of the design report. We think that's going to fall sometime mid-January. Still a little tentative on the schedule, but then following that, the creation of design and construction plans for the first phase of the project. We will determine which phase that is. It's either the freeway, midtown, or downtown. Staff is currently leaning towards the freeway section. We'll also get some additional stakeholder process with businesses and property owners during that design phase, and then consideration of a CIP funding request for the project. And that concludes the presentation. So comments or questions, be happy to answer.
Did you have your hand up? I was going to start to the left. Jeff, go ahead.
I'm on your right side.
I know, that's why I was looking over there.
I know. Joe, do you have an estimate on what this project's going to cost the city?
I do not. At the current time, this is just a conceptual design, which is laid out as the project is going to be. So this is, current phase is just conceptual design. We will get detailed budget numbers in the construction phase.
North of 10 million?
It's potentially, it's a 4-mile stretch of road, so it is it's
a big stretch of road.
quite a large project, so it'd be spread out over multiple years.
And it's all
for
coming out
completion.
of our regular city budget?
It would, we would certainly be talking to, oh, okay. Larry, would you like to take that? You're better finance, you're the numbers guy.
Yes, Mr. Horn, Mayor Pro Tem Lavender, members of the council. Joe brings up a couple of points, and I was going to actually close on reinforcing some of the points, but given the questions, I thought it would be appropriate time to provide information for the council. I think it's important for everyone to recognize that this is just a concept report at this point in time. We have done no formal design. We've not established any type of cost estimates for this project. Certainly, if the mayor and council agrees to move the concept forward, then there will be additional details that will actually be established at each segment that is outlined on the Florence Boulevard. But let me focus specifically on the questions related to the funding of this project. First and foremost, the city has been utilizing revitalization funds that are available to us through the APS franchise agreement and for this initial phase. Just to give everyone a context of that, we have approximately $4 million that we've generated over the years. Do I think that's going to be sufficient for this entire project? The answer is absolutely not. It's important to note that, at least in my estimation, as we take each segment piece by piece and we get more understanding of the cost estimates and the design, we ultimately will be putting in capital improvement projects each year during the budget process and establishing a financing plan as for each segment, if you will. And I suspect that it will be a combination of funds that would be generated out of our construction sales tax as well as our general fund, but essentially a combination. I do anticipate that if the project is advanced, and particularly in the Midtown section, there are likely some dollars that are being made available through the federal government today for safety programs that we actually will be successful at receiving some of that funding. And so today, that is how I would respond to the questions related to how is the project going to be funded.
And this next question might be more appropriate for our consultants. In Tolleson and Chandler, the private businesses, like in Chandler, for example, all of the remaking of the downtown, I would assume the businesses chipped in probably $10 to every dollar the city did. So the city spent $20 million on that project. Private development spent about $200 million. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah, the return on investment, back in 2010, the city did about $9.3 million of completely decked out capital funds in the infrastructure. The return on investment, well, right now it's off the charts. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Committee over there. There's quite a few things coming into the downtown. There's some 6-7-story buildings, so it would be difficult. I can try to get a number on the ROI, but it's pretty intense in terms of the return on investment of what that 9 is probably turned into $200 million here in the next 2 years.
And that would be one thing that I would be interested moving forward. Is there even an interest from private industry to do something like that? You showed the picture of Little Sombreros. It looks great. It's pretty obvious to me. No offense to Little Sombreros, what my wife and I love to eat there. They haven't put much money into that restaurant since Matt frequented it when he was in high school in the 90s.
It's a true story.
So for them to you know, for them, because you're looking at a couple $1 million makeover in those pictures.
Yes.
So
Some
that
of
would
the-
be something that I'd want to hear more about.
Yeah.
The vegetation, I'm assuming you're talking about plants that naturally grow in the desert through droughts and things like that.
Or drought adapted, drought tolerant shade trees would be implemented.
So you're
correct.
telling me there will be no infrastructure of the sprinkler system, the water, those,
You would have a drip irrigation system. Yeah, it would supplement the,
so there would be one?
you would have drip, yes.
Because
you
I
would
would
have-
think that the heat from the road is much more intense than desert heats, that those plants would I think they're going to have to be watered, wouldn't you agree?
You would have drip irrigation, yeah, no question about it.
And I'm just curious, when you talk about quality of life and Casa Grande's image, I would like to hear more about how you came up with some of those things as we move forward.
Some of which things, Councilmember?
Well, we talked about, you know, this is going to enhance our quality of life and it's going to increase Casa Grande's image. I'd like to hear more about, so it's more quantitative than
Yeah.
just subjective,
Yeah, I think some of the things that we've heard
please.
from stakeholders in the public was, and council's general plan, was enhancement of this downtown, of the corridor. I think people have said, you know, there's been kind of a lack of shade, lack of walkability in this area. I think you're addressing that. I think from quality of life, 10 deaths in 07 to 22 is kind of a lot of deaths on a streetscape. I guess enhancing the safety aspect of things would be a big step in that direction in terms of the council priority of trying to create, you know, a more livable, walkable community. I think just the aesthetic image, you know, aside from the economics and the safety, the aesthetic image of drawing people to the downtown, maybe not encouraging so much the dump trucks and the trash trucks, construction trucks and semis to come through here, but actual destination and making it easier for people to get here, just like Tolleson and Chandler did. There was a big debate in Chandler of, hey, these narrowing of lanes, it's going to drive people elsewhere. And I think the discussion back then and still today was, hey, we really don't want the semis and the dump trucks coming through here like they did before on Arizona Avenue. It was really about destination, and it certainly has turned the corner in both Tolleson and Chandler as local examples.
Well, we don't want the Walmart trucks on Pinal either, but we haven't been able to cure that problem.
Yeah.
And I'm just giving you, moving forward, some of the concerns that I have as we get further along in this project, and some questions I want to answer. I don't want downtown Casa Grande to be like downtown Chandler. My daughter works there. It's very hard to park, it's dangerous. And so I wouldn't use that as a model for me. So I understand that, and there's
Yeah.
metropolitan area, 4 to 5 million people there to support those neighborhoods as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Donna?
Just a couple of things. I'm curious because, I mean, we all know that we've had some pros and con comments from some of our citizens that have businesses on Florence Boulevard, and that is a concern to us. I'm curious about, you know, whether it's Chandler or Tolleson or wherever, what kind of opposition for those areas happened when this same type of, you know, thing occurred, and how did that change? Or did they? I know that you guys have done a good job at trying to reach out to those business owners on Florence Boulevard. And I applaud you for that, because those are courageous conversations that you have to have, because we've all had those. But I guess I'm a little bit curious about how that came to be, and if anything, if you just went ahead and did it anyway, and it's great that some of those are successful. But I'm just curious, because that's one of the concerns I have. And then the second question I have, Jeff had brought it up about the landscaping, and I think that I read it was biowells, if that was correct, versus the rain garden. And I'm just curious, because we as a city have talked about, you know, conserving water and being responsible in our efforts to set a good example. And so how does that fit into ours in that regard?
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor, council member, I'll address the second question first. The bioswale and water harvesting, it's being done more and more kind of around the state and in the Southwest. Basically, in addition to kind of harvesting that rainwater for the trees, themselves. You're also taking some of the storm drain water and some of the problems that are associated with storm drain and water in lanes, and incorporating that into the bioswale, if you will, or it's a fancy swale. So it does help kind of get that first flush of greases and oils into the root system. It filters out. And I know in Mesa, along the Fiesta District, we did about 2 miles of that near MCC, Mesa Community College. There's been real healthy trees. Their city staff has been very happy with how healthy they are because you're harvesting a lot of that water. So that fits in well here because I think your planning staff has encouraged us to try to do that as much as possible, and we're trying to do that really from Brown all the way east to I-10. The first question is an excellent question. Opposition. There was considerable opposition in both Tolleson and Chandler. I know Tolleson, a lot of the discussion was it'll never work, the traffic won't work. It's always been this way and changed. We really don't want it. Totally understand that. I know that there's a couple of stories in Tolleson. There was 1 or 2 very vocal opponents, local business owners who were very, very up against it. When the Tolleson project opened, and you can ask any of the folks down there, they came up to the city staff and said, hey, this is exactly what we needed. And I can give you a name off the line, off record. Shocked everybody from the mayor to the economic development director that this person saw that the traffic was working and the aesthetics did work, and the point of pride was working. This stuff is real and it's tangible. In Chandler, we had a very similar story, and you can ask Kim Moyers or some of the folks down there. We had a local bar and grill owner who was very opposed to it, and just all the way through just didn't want the change. We totally respected that, understood it, and kept working with them. And when the project opened, and I can give you that name too, and that restaurant and that bar, they came up to Terry Kilgore, who was the downtown redevelopment manager at that time, and said, I hate to admit this, Terry, but this was the right thing to do, present and long term. So there was opposition, quite a bit of it. Page is going through that now. There was 1,000 signatures signed in the community of 8,000, and the city council up there right now is doing something similar and have decided to go forward with that. So sometimes there is opposition. I think you have to look at the numbers and really kind of work with the community and really look at, do we want to implement, the 2030 plan? Do you want to implement long-term economic sustainability and more, kind of focus on your downtown? They're tough choices.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I wish you would have spent a little more tonight on the east end of the project, because that's a big part of it too. And I think that's where we should start. I know most people are concerned with the narrowing, which is a small part, but a very, very important part of this. And when we first started talking about this and meeting upstairs, I said, block off the lanes and see how it really works. We can block off 2 lanes on the outside, see how the traffic flows, see if it really does work, because that's a heavily traveled street. And I mean, I know you have this stuff, but you'd have to prove it to me. And I know it won't give the aesthetics and the stuff that you're looking for, but at least you would see if it really worked, because we're talking about on the other end right now where Arizona Water, not the city by the way, but Arizona Water is putting in a new line, which is more traffic down there, but people are really having trouble getting into town down Florence Boulevard from the freeway side, and that's where we get a lot of people, so we should start down there. And it's been addressed. I'm going to bring a couple things just because it's important to me, but the trees. You had a lot of trees. And downtown, we did trees a few years ago. We've done downtown redevelopment for a long time. There's at least 5 to 6 missing down there that have died. And I'm worried about keeping track of all these trees, how much it's going to cost us every year for maintenance, how much it's going to cost us for water. I'd like to see more art, more metal stuff, stuff like that in there to, so that we won't have to do all the maintenance, because that's one of the biggest things I hear about from people is, man, it doesn't look very good because we have all these trees dying or overgrown or weeds and that sort of stuff.
We don't have any trees right now.
I know they're dead down there. There's quite a few missing. Oh, in Florence, no. And then you did show the east-west. You said McMurray could handle a lot more traffic, and I don't know if you've ever driven McMurray, but it has huge dips on it. I mean, it looks good capacity-wise, but if you actually drive on it, it's a bit of a challenge, So, and while you showed McMurray, Cottonwood, you never show how to get north-south from Florence Boulevard. Pinal, I know is one, but I'm getting comments from people that live on Treckle, because we do have residents that live on Treckle, and they're concerned about, it's already a pretty busy road, and how much more traffic that would bring. So I'd like to see that in the studies going forward as well, how people are going to get north-south to those other roads. And is Cottonwood eventually going to be a 6-lane road? I think we were talking about that, or is it 4? Who am I, Paul? What? It remains 4. 4. Did we have a plan?
5.
Or 5, yeah. Plan for 5. Okay. And, this is economic development project, like you said, and I've heard you talk about return on investment. But to Jeff's point too, I'm a business owner, and I'd love for some investment, but I mean, it's a lot of money that you're counting on people to put into their buildings as well. That's private investment, that's not city. We can invest that, but we have to make sure that we reach out to all those people and see, hey, this is what we're doing, if that go. I mean, I'm just saying, we're still talking about it at this point. I know that from a true story that there was another national tenant looking at the Whataburger before Rallies, and they wanted an out in their lease if it went down to 2 lanes on Florence Boulevard. I mean, I know that. And then other things like Jeff said, I mean, we need to talk about all these things because we are studying tonight. We got the 15-minute city stuff that people concerned us. We need to see if we, address those issues. And then, it's just a lot of concerns that people have. And like I said, if it really works, block off the two lanes. I mean, I've said that, and I don't know if anyone really wants to take that, but, and then the other thing is the dollars. I mean, just so everybody knows, this is how long would it take to do this project? 10 years, 15, we don't know. Plus, we've got to get the funding for it. We do have a little bit to get it going, but we haven't approved any funding for it, and we'd have to figure out where we're going to get that. So I like a lot of the beautification. I think most people like the beautification. I think the biggest concerns are the traffic on Florence Boulevard, and accessing through the city because it is our main artery, and then where that traffic would go in the studies. So I think that's about all I have right now. But the beautification, I think most people can get behind. And again, I'd really like to see the east end because we saw those before, just not tonight very much. It was nice looking, and that's one of our main entryways from the city because we need to welcome people in. We're growing. We have more people coming, and we want people to come here and spend money. We have a lot of things going for that. So I want to keep this city vibrant, keep it going, but keep it Casa Grande. So
Thank you.
Bob?
Mayor, thank you. I very much agree with what Matt just said, and I do believe that the east end of this project should be the priority. I do have a question. I like that it calls for the expansion of Florence Boulevard right next, or coming off of the freeway. I have a question of why that freeway zone stops at Hennis, because our traffic, to my observation, doesn't reduce significantly after Hennis. It's still quite congested up into Peart Road and sometimes all the way to Treckle Road. So why does that freeway zone stop at Hennis Road?
Yeah, I think I might ask Scott to come up. Scott, do you want to answer some of the traffic and the breakdown of
Access.
We don't have Dwayne here today, do
A
we?
lot more land out.
Oh, is
outside
it?
of Hennis.
Oh, you want to take that?
So the reason we stopped at Hennis is the right-of-way and acquisition is a lot easier between Hennis and I-10. Between Hennis and Peart, there's all those buildings and everything really close. So that was a reason we just didn't say, we'll go 6 lanes all the way to Peart. To us,
Okay.
it makes more sense to go to Hennis.
And Dwayne, I understand that, and I believed that was the answer, but my point was, it's not based on traffic count.
Yes, we don't think we looked at the MAG model and a number of things, and we don't believe we need to have 6 lanes from Hennis on west.
Okay, well, I I would publicly disagree with that because I drive that. I drive that all the time, and ultimately, my point's going to be that if anything, our focus should be to expand Florence Boulevard. I am not a fan of the lane reductions down here on the west end, and I also have a question for the consultant. Chandler and Gilbert both have been mentioned as examples of how this can work, but I may be wrong, but are either one of those a single directional lane through their downtown area?
I want to talk some more.
Yeah, you bet.
Tolleson, but
Through the
not
mayor.
Chandler
Yeah,
or
Tolleson.
Gilbert.
Yeah, no, Chandler, asphalt was narrowed. It was like 15, 16-foot lanes that were significantly narrowed to 10.5-foot lanes.
But it's still a multi-lane
Yeah, they added.
throughway.
Mhm, they did.
And I think we've got, and I'm not barking at you, I'm just voicing my opinion on this project. We've got development on the west side of town that's coming, both industrial and residential. And if anything, I think that traffic on Florence Boulevard on this west end is going to increase. And one of my other observations is we're looking at McMurray having an ability to take on more traffic. And if I read your numbers correctly, the capacity on McMurray is 1,500 per day? Is that correct?
15,000.
Yeah.
15,000 per day. And with the exception of the big dips that Matt brought up, it is a very similar roadway to what you are proposing for Florence Boulevard, 2 lanes and a turn lane. That's how McMurray is set up. And we're citing today traffic on Florence Boulevard at being 14,000. And my point is, if we reduce those lanes, we have very little capacity to utilize on Florence Boulevard as we continue to grow to the west. So, again, just to echo what Matt said, I recognize this is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. I think our priority ought to be on the east end, and maybe someday this makes sense. I don't think it does today, and there's nothing etched in stone about it, and we can proceed down this road cautiously, and I think we should.
I'd like to answer a couple of questions you
Sure.
asked a little more. One thing on Florence Boulevard is we're currently making improvements. So we have planned improvements on the section between Treckle and Hennis that will improve the capacity of Florence Boulevard without widening it to 6 lanes. So we have 2 safety projects in there that are going to make a big difference on some of the intersections. We've got a future project at Pottibomb and Florence Boulevard that will improve that intersection. So we're working at improving the traffic flow along there without going to 6 lanes. I think of some of the other things you ask about, traffic increasing in this portion of Florence Boulevard. Looking at the traffic model, looking at all the developments that's going on west, we don't think that section is going to increase a lot. There's going to be other routes for people in the west to get into town. So the model doesn't really show traffic going up. It shows in 2050, the traffic would be about 2,000 or 3,000 more than it is now. Now, you can argue, do you believe the model or not, but that's one of the things that we're looking at.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Anything else that you?
No, I think you've answered everything.
Lisa?
And of course, well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. I mean, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the emails you've given us, the feedback. We all pay attention to what's being said on social media, in newspaper articles and everything. And I think, we all take this job very serious, and we're all trying to do what's best for this community. I agree with my fellow council members, but, when we have to remember why we're here, and that was to create a vision of, vibrant corridor, what we can do to change and add some life to this area. Now, it's tough, obviously, that, safety, enhancement, everything is really important, but, how it's going to affect current businesses is also very important. I have a business in my community, and if this was being forced down my throat right outside my door, I would be concerned if it's something that I didn't believe in. I really like the idea of this, I really do. I don't want to be Chandler, I don't want to be Tolleson, I want to be Casa Grande, but I want to be a vibrant Casa Grande. I'm not comfortable with status quo. I want us to be creative and find ways to improve and, bring just energy. And but it's very challenging because I really wish, because I know there's some business people in here, I really wish that you can see this, how it can create this energy and just, just like we talked earlier, a sense of place. But again, I would like to see these businesses comfortable with it, wanting to make that investment, because that's going to be critical. Because if we make this investment and no one else does anything, then it's not going to look like this. So I think it's important to see how we can assist these businesses to get funding, to get grants, to get whatever they need to make this, the vision. Now, the traffic, that's been a huge issue. I mean, I see it all over. Everyone thinks it's crazy that we would bring this, area down to 2 lanes. Of course, looking at the traffic study, I've really paid attention to it. I've been concerned about, where we're going to be 30 years from now. Will we have that capacity, in 30 years, because it's important making these decisions now. I've been on the city council for 13 years. We've made decisions 12 years ago that affected us just recently when it comes to infrastructure decisions. So it takes time, for us to get some of the, the vision that we want to, bring to this community. So, making this decision now is critical, but, because this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years for us to get here. But the traffic is concerning. I want to make sure that, so if we move this forward, I would really like more detail on the traffic. Are we really going to have that capacity 10, 15, 20 years from now? And as well as where the traffic will circulate. And then public safety. We haven't really talked about that too much, and that's been a concern that has come up as far as safety personnel. When the police and fire are dispatched, are they going to be able to get through here? If there's a car accident, what's going to happen here? So I don't think in our previous discussions, we've talked a whole lot about that. I know our police chief, I believe, is here somewhere. If we move forward to discuss it further, I really would like to see and hear from our public safety personnel to make sure that's there. So I understand the concerns, and it's not that I'm wishy-washy. I know I am in the middle, but it's just because I love the vision, but I don't want to force it to businesses. And if they're not going to get involved, and if they're not going to do their part, then it's not going to, be what we really want it to be. But going to the east end of Florence, we start there. Because even if we go east end and bring it down, maybe, the community will see, wow, this is really, nice. It's making our community, updated. It's adding vibrance. It's cleaning it up. We hear that all the time from all of you guys. Clean up this city, So this is a way to do that, by cleaning up the city. So again, if we move forward, the big issues is the traffic capacity, 10, 15, 20 years, and bring in the public safety piece also. And thirdly, when you talk about affecting the businesses, is there in Tolleson and Chandler, were there grant opportunities? Was there special funding that was available for these businesses to help them beautify, and update their projects, their buildings? So thank you. And again, thank you all for being here too.
Good comments, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor, if I could comment.
Go ahead.
Tolleson did have a pretty robust facade improvement program that they went out and got federal dollars for. So there was a very low input with a big match. So there are steps you can take that we can certainly get into with staff a little more.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
I would
Anthony?
agree with that as well with the council. council members as well. We have to be very smart. My biggest concern has always been our businesses, our local businesses. And I want to respect them and their wishes. And one thing that I would always bring up is, are you talking to the local businesses to see their reactions to this? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're taken care of in the same token, and if they're able to handle that cost, as Councilmember Fitzgibbon is talking about. I believe there's some other roads that have to come into play to get fixed to help this to work. So there's some things that needs to be done to the north side. I believe Matt said this as well as Mr. Lavender, to the north side of Florence Boulevard, in order that it's able to handle. McMurray can handle it. It just can't do it. All right. You still got to do some work on Cottonwood Lane. I think that was brought up. Those lanes have to be popped out. Even McCartney that way, because what's going to happen is you're going to have more traffic going that way, and there's a lot of other things that have to come into play. I love the designs. I really do. I love how we want to make it vibrant, and we do need to do that. But I think there's ways that we can do that, and also get the buy-in also from those businesses that's here in our city to help us with that and have them be a part of that design. So I believe that we have to have a voice from our citizens as well as those businesses, as well as, of course, the council as we work for those citizens. And so I believe once we get that buy-in, and I understand, we're at the beginning of this stage and we're talking about it. Yes, that east side on Florence Boulevard has to be fixed. So, as y'all see as well, right now they're down to one lane and the traffic gets backed up really bad. I've been caught in it. I went over to Jimmy Curve. You get all the way back, I got to get over the north side. So I'm trying to avoid the traffic right now because of the construction on Florence Boulevard, as well as the construction at the new Whataburger. So it's causing a backup. And so, I understand, I get where the businesses think that, you know what, going in a narrow lane, so I think we said 6 lanes, 4 lanes down, okay. I'm in agreement with Bob, Councilmember Huddleston. I was thinking the same thing. Why can't we go all the way to Perk Road?
Yeah, me too.
You know, it just seemed, to us, it seems like it just makes sense, right? And I understand there's a lot of things that come into play with the businesses that are there on those sides as well. Can we, and I think I brought this up in the meeting, can we extend that far out? I'm talking about lanes from I-10 all the way, you know? And so, and I understand there's a lot of things that go into play, but I'm so thankful for the conversation that we're able to talk about it. We got to continue. I know on one of your slides, you talked about the local business, talking with the local businesses, finding out what's best for them. How's this going to affect them? How's this going to hurt them? And so we get all that input, and then we can sit and make a wise decision on what's best for our city. And we do, and there's a lot of things that we do. We can still do the art stuff. We can still fix it up. You know, may not have as many trees, but there's things that we can do to still enhance the city of Casa Grande.
I agree.
That's it.
Well, I think most of the comments I agree with. I think I kind of side with Lisa a little bit more than maybe the others, but this downtown narrowing, since that seems to be the hot button, was actually presented a couple times by ULI, which is Urban Land Institute, which is a think tank that does studying downtown redevelopment and that sort of thing. And so this idea came from them. It's actually a proposal that they came up with. And it's actually been proposed a couple times. This is not new. This has been kicked around for at least 15 years. And so some of this is now we're just trying to bring it to fruition and actually have a vision for the city and have a vision for Florence Boulevard. So obviously you all live here, I live here, and we want to make sure that we take everybody's thoughts and opinions into consideration. But in the end, we also need to do what's best for the majority of the city and for Florence Boulevard. And it really does need some help. It needs some polishing. It needs a little paint job. And this is part of that process. I know it's going to be painful to some extent, but I think we can get through it with logic and collaboration and come up with a good plan and a good vision. So that is your council's goal here, is really to help build that vision and improve the overall aspects of Florence Boulevard by doing the right thing, listening to data, listening to our engineers, and listening to the traffic counts and the data that we receive. And then from that, we'll try and make the best decision possible. So that I will guarantee you that we will do, and we will have another opportunity to talk about this. So if there's no other comments from planning or Larry, you wanted to close with something?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one additional item that I wanted to point out for anyone who's here
Thanks,
tonight.
Jeff.
And/or who
Thanks,
is
Kurt.
watching. As I mentioned earlier, we've established an email address specific to the project that individuals can send emails directly to that address and/or questions that they may have. And it is Florence Boulevard, BLVD, versus the full spelling of Boulevard, at casagrandeaz.gov. And we'll get more information out on that, but individuals can utilize that email address specifically to communicate on the project.
We can have the PIO send that out in a CG alerts and put it on our website.
Yep.
So you'll all have access to that, if you didn't happen to write it down. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll stand adjourned until 7 o'clock, and we'll start our regular city council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
That was interesting.
Jeff?
I was gonna say, hello, how are you? Yeah, good. Yeah, sure. What? Right. No, I know. Yeah, I know. You're right, and they have to understand the community.
right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's city council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. First couple items on our agenda are the invocation and pledge of allegiance, which we'll do at the same time. And Father Jesus from St. Anthony's Catholic Church will be leading us in our invocation. So please remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. No, it's last.
Govern in marvelous ways. Look with favor on the assembled, for whom we pray now, and mercifully pour out upon them the spirit of your wisdom, that they may decide everything for the well-being and peace of all, and may never turn aside from your will. Through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jeff. All right, next item on our agenda is the roll call. Let the roll call show that all council members are present.
So noted.
Next is our minutes.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the council regular meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes of September 7th, 2023, and the Arts and Humanities Commission regular meeting minutes of September 5th, 2023, and the special meeting of September 26th, 2023.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Next is our claims against the city, item D.
Mayor McFarland, I move to accept and pay the claims dated September 27th through October 10th, 2023 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Claims are approved. If you have an agenda, we are going to pass item E. Oops, excuse me, I'm sorry. Approval of the agenda. I'm on the wrong spot. Anybody have any changes to the agenda? Larry? This is where it goes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, member of the audience, two things. Number one, I just want to remind anyone that may be present for the Mission Royale Community Facilities District, that particular meeting will commence following our regular council meeting. And I also need to remove the special presentation of Martha Bender tonight. She's had some personal issues and she's unable to make it, so we'll add it to a future agenda.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Any changes from council? Okay. Seeing no changes, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Meeting agenda is approved. We're going to skip F, and we'll move to consent agenda, item G. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Anyone on the council have anything you want to change or remove? Anybody in the audience? Anybody from community? No, this isn't a chance to talk yet. I'll call. Or you want to remove something from the agenda? Okay, from the consent agenda. Okay.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All right, a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. Now, this is the time when we'll open the floor to the public. This is public comments, item H on our agenda. Let me remind everybody to please state your name and your address when you come to the podium, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And as a reminder, these are non-agendized items, so we can't have an open discussion on them. But if you have something you want to leave with Mr. Raines, you can, and it will become public record. So anyone like to address the council? I do have a bunch of speaking sheets here, so if you want to go first, since you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. James Stillwell, 1479 East 11th Street, Casa Grande.
Timer.
I wanted to speak tonight in regards to the Florence Boulevard Streetscape project. The presentation that was submitted tonight was missing a few slides that were presented last week online. Some of those slides were from the city of Tolleson and what they felt was good about the road diet. So I wanted to first talk about the city of Tolleson. The city of Tolleson, per the U.S. Census, had a 2022 population of just over 7,000 people, just over 5 square miles, a growth rate of 0.6%. The city of Casa Grande has a population, again by the U.S. Census, just over 60,000, 110 square miles, a growth rate of 11.9%. Two wildly different numbers. We are not the city of Tolleson. The survey cards, people said that we wanted to be more like the city of Casa Grande, or I'm sorry, the city of Chandler and Gilbert, not more like the city of Tolleson. Way different. What works for the city of Tolleson doesn't necessarily work for the city of Casa Grande. For every Tolleson type success story, there's many stories of failure. Venice Boulevard in California, after 18 months of a road diet, citizens went crazy about a 0.8 mile stretch. It cost the city $1.8 million to change it back. They added speeding traffic. It added speeding traffic to adjoining neighborhood streets. It created log jams. It increased congestion. It killed mom and pop businesses. In Playa del Rey, fierce public opposition. It had council members recalled. It created traffic jams. They reverted it after 4 days. What they did, they focused on speed feedback signs, traffic signals. They gave pedestrians a head start. They implemented speed tables, flashing beacon crosswalks, resting red traffic lights that would remain in red in all directions during off-peak driving hours. 8th Avenue in Gainesville, Florida, their road diet only lasted 15 months. Citizens reported tricky merge points. Drivers struggled, even though the simulations like J2 showed tonight showed that it would work flawlessly. It didn't. It created bottlenecks. Low counts of cyclists, low counts of pedestrians. Why should we be inconveniencing the many people in cars while only marginally affecting the few people walking and biking? The information that I've been able to find shows that it costs anywhere from $700,000 or more to remove or undo these road diets. Chandler, Arizona's Arizona Streetscape Project, J2 provided them with 4 options. 3 out of those 4 options were for a single lane in each direction. One was to have 2 lanes in each direction. Why is Casa Grande not being provided options? Why is Casa Grande's only option a single lane in each direction? I have a lot more. I will present it. Please read through it.
Thank you.
Please read the minutes, see the rest of that. Yeah.
All right. Bobby Seabolt, did I say that right?
She left.
Okay. Tina Cramp?
I haven't seen her.
She's in, she's in the back.
Hi, Tina.
I might be a little too early because I really want to wait till the presentation of the public hearing
Okay.
for the annexation. Can I come back if my questions aren't answered?
Yes, actually,
Is that okay?
you could wait to the public hearing if you want.
No, yeah, but no, I'm going to wait.
Okay.
I want to listen, but if I can, I'd like to wait till after that because I do have some questions.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Okay, Aaron Jacob? Okay. Is it David Nasser?
Nestor?
Nestor? Okay. Nancy Hawkins. I know I saw Nancy here.
Hi, Mayor McFarland and council. I appreciate this work session that you did have and the comments from the city council. I appreciate the fact that you are looking into this as seriously as you are. It seemed like one of the main reasons that they were saying that people are for this is it would be a drive-to, not a drive-through. But when you look at the demographics of Arizona, and especially down here in the desert, first of all, walking in 100 plus 10 degrees is not something that people are going to gravitate towards. So forcing people to walk to or ride their bike to is something that I don't think is going to encourage people to visit an area that they can't drive to. Also, people that are in the retirement communities and all of the winter visitors that happen to be 55 plus, many of them can't walk or bike to. So they'll just avoid the area altogether, myself included, because I can't walk. So I think you need to take into consideration our demographics, our weather, and things like that. They showed beautiful areas where people are enjoying the outdoors, but that isn't Arizona for 4 to 5 months out of the year. And in the wintertime with the winter visitors, that would eliminate, I think, a lot of them. Another thing, if people want to do the exercising, that type of thing, there's plenty of areas and parks, anything else, bike paths in their neighborhoods, they can do that. But this is sort of forcing them to do it, and I think you'll find that people will avoid the area, just like you driving to the council meeting here or something, you went a different way. You just avoid the area altogether if you can't drive to it. People moved here because it was a rural community. They expect to drive, they like the space, they like the mobility, and as fast as we are growing, and you brought up those situations, we need more traffic areas, not less. Let's see, it seems like, well, you've seen this, and one of the things that they talked about Tolleson and how it was having a positive impact on it. Well, it looks like Tolleson, because maybe people aren't driving to the area, it's going vertical, and I don't think we have the wherewithal to do that in downtown Casa Grande, and that would not be preserving downtown Casa Grande and what we want it to become. I just hope I did leave some literature with all of you, and I realize that that may not fit all of this situation, but I think there's a lot of statistics as far as safety that they talked about tonight. I think some of those statistics could be rebutted, would not be completely accurate, or you can always have statistics on both sides of everything. So anyway, I appreciate you having this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene Henderson.
Good evening. I am Jean Henderson, still houseless, using CG Helps' address, 350 East 6th Street, Casa Grande, Arizona, 85122. I was pleased to read the letter to the editor in the Dispatch, October 14th, regarding the shame of the Casa Grande Mall continuing to be empty and all those who hang around there. What also pleased me was the two writers' discussed regarding the street racers not to be tolerated. Since I see these street racers nightly and how they show disdain for those of us who are normal drivers, it would be truly beneficial for them to move elsewhere away from the heart of Casa Grande, like Jimmy Kerr Boulevard, and I hear them there sometimes. If the Casa Grande Mall does begin to grow businesses, having the street racers around and their minions could prove dangerous to those frequenting the new businesses. I have seen many times and heard when street racers are causing much out-of-control driving and making all the various noises and sounds to show off to one another, almost causing accidents on the streets and at parking lots. For example, Fry's on Florence Boulevard. The speeds on lots are unnerving at times, and I mean really unnerving. Also, parents from as far back as 2021 have voiced concerns regarding the street racers that their children aren't safe even on parking lots. I too have been fearful since 4/30/21. Hopefully the mall and street racer situation will be rectified soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. Got one more speaker card here, Michael Cruz.
Mayor, Council, thank you very much. My name is Michael Cruz, resident Casa Grande. I actually wanted to say a few words regarding the Cityscape project that was previously discussed in this initial special session. I'm a resident, I live here. And when I say I live here, I live right here in the Evergreen community where I could walk straight to Florence Boulevard within a minute. I live here and I see the traffic every day. I see the area every day. And I just wanted to impart a couple thoughts and some just general ideas and some perspective from someone that lives in this community, lives in the impacted area, commutes on this road every day to my place of employment. Casa Grande's growing, there's no doubt. The ACA listed a report, and with that number data, what I was able to pull, we're averaging about 58 new families each month into this community. When I say each family, it's about 2.6 is the average family household that's coming here. So there's no doubt it's growing. But what's also growing is the need for opportunities for these families to engage and improve their quality of life. You know, I work with a lot of people at my place of employment, and 9 times out of 10, they don't live here. And part of it is because there's nothing to do for young professionals in the area, in this community. And as we explore and continue on with this project, I encourage you to think about the actual voices that live and commute on this street from the impacted area that on the lane reduction. I think the community fails to understand there's actually going to be an increase in traffic lanes on the far east side, but I think we fail to recognize that idea. I think a lot of people just bunch it under one, that it's going to be restricted. The part in question really, there's opportunity for growth, there's opportunity to beautify the area, but more importantly, it's opportunity for the council and the staff to explore ways to bring new people in here and to enhance the quality of life. And it starts with projects like this. It starts with offering the opportunity for businesses to come, explore, expand their offerings, to be able to provide a good mix of entertainment, nightlife, and commerce and industry. Ultimately, I will say, as a resident that lives here, and I've seen the city manager at 6 in the morning when I go on walks coming into the office. And it's one of those things where safety is an issue. You know, there's many times where I'm walking my dog and there's cars that just cut right in front of you. So these are things to explore. I encourage you to engage the Evergreen community at a more intimate level. A lot of the people that are speaking don't live exactly in the area of interest, in the area of concern. So I would encourage you to charter some type of further studying and exploration of this area, of people that are directly impacted, because when you really look at the data, the people in this area are not the ones in vehicles. They're the ones walking and riding bicycles because of the demographics. So I encourage you to explore that further. Thank you for listening to my comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. I don't have any more speaking cards, but is there anybody else who would like to address the council? This is your opportunity. All right, yeah, we do have some public meetings later that we will open for additional comments. So, all right, I'm going to close the public comments section of our meeting, and then we'll move on to our awards of contracts, and we'll start with I-1.
Mayor, Council, good evening.
Good evening.
Staff recommends the mayor and city council authorize the sole source purchase of Virtua Inc. Law Enforcement Training Simulator for an amount not to exceed $128,757, plus any applicable sales taxes and/or shipping and handling charges. The Arizona legislature has appropriated $138,000 from the Peace Officers Training and Equipment Fund to the Casa Grande Police Department to purchase a firearms training simulator. The police department's current firearms simulator is approximately 12 years old. It's become outdated, it's prone to repair, and it's no longer efficient and a realistic training tool. So these firearm simulators play a crucial role in enhancing the effectiveness and safety of law enforcement officers and the communities in which they serve. Simulators offer a realistic and immersive environment that replicates real-life scenarios, enabling officers to develop and refine their de-escalation skills, firearm skills, and tactical awareness, as well as dealing with high-stress situations, marksmanship, judgment, and ultimately fostering better preparedness for real-life encounters. And that is all I have pending your questions.
Anybody have any questions? Bob?
Yep. Lieutenant, is this similar to the Milo system?
Yes, but it's better, sir.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I actually went through training up there and went through the simulator, and it's pretty impressive. So if you recall, sir, the older one has actually one screen. This one actually is a V180, so it's 3 screens, and it's 180 degrees.
Wow.
So there's a lot of cool stuff with it.
Okay. I want to tell you that I get personally offended when things that I bought are called old and worn out. But
I'll recall that for next time, sir.
Does that give you any idea that you're getting old, Bob?
I think you said it was
So
outdated.
dated, huh? So dated.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Matt?
Wait, I got it, quick. Is this like just one person at a time, or is it?
No, you can do multiple people, sir.
Okay.
It's
I'm just curious.
It's a lot more adaptive too, so you can actually move the latest or the last generation.
The old technology.
Yeah. So
He doesn't want to say old.
yeah, so that one was more you had to kind of stay within a more confined area, but this one's the receptors, if you will, actually pick up, and you can kind of move around quite a bit more. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone saw it. I don't think they all read all this, but it was neat. I thought it was neat that they had like the taser as well for
Yes.
de-escalation, and then taser misfires, and so it sounds like a pretty neat system with real world.
Yes, and one of the
scenarios.
Sorry, one of the good things is you can actually use your actual firearm that you're assigned through the training, which is different from the latest generation. So.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No, we don't want to insult Bob anymore.
All right, thank you, Ken. All right, seeing no other comments, then I will call for a ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 3393, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the sole source provider offer from Viterra Inc. to provide law enforcement firearms training simulator, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing the execution of a contract, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 3393 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, we'll move to item I2. This is considering approval of resolution number 5589. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is for Resolution 5586.
Oh, sorry, I said 9.
This is a resolution that's, again, we're moving forward with expanding the capabilities and enhancing our capabilities at the Communications Center. We are requesting $83,202,060 to upgrade our power phone system. That's for our EMD, our Emergency Medical Dispatch. That's the questioning language that goes through when we're taking calls for somebody who's having a medical emergency. It allows us to provide pre-care, pre-arrival instructions to them prior to our arrival. We're currently working on what's called the light version, the LTE version. We liked it, it worked out really well, so we're going to upgrade to the full version. There's 3 portions of the contract in the resolution. It's a sole source contract because we already have the Power Phone light version, so we're moving to the full version. We have to pay Tyler as well to implement this and add into the Tyler dispatch system. And we have about $6,500 in fees to SHI, which is through our IT division to connect everything up. This was authorized in our budget, and that's really it, unless you guys have any questions.
Questions? Did a good job of explaining it.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no comments or questions, then I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5586, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the sole source provider offer from Power Phone, Inc. to provide an upgrade to the software for the emergency medical dispatching program, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5586 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. Let's move to item I3 then. This is resolution 5587.
Thank
Kevin?
you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for professional services with Kimley Horn and Associates with a total bid amount of $403,707. And we're also asking for a $25,000 contingency to bring our total spending authority up to $428,707. And this is for the design phase of the widening of McCartney Road, and that's between Pinal Avenue and I-10. So we'll be looking to design that entire roadway segment. This is part of the bond-approved projects. So this is the McCartney section that we're moving forward with full design on. And we'll be working with that consultant throughout this project to develop all the construction drawings for the project, and then obviously bring that back for further consideration by council. We did go through a pre-qualification, a request for qualifications process to pick this consultant. We had 6 consulting firms submit, and through our evaluation process, Kimley Horn was the highest ranked firm that we looked at. So we did budget for this project in this fiscal year, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Lisa?
So of course, Kevin, this can't happen fast enough for everyone. I mean, we'll be counting down the days, but realistically, like, what is the timeline for the design phase, and then when do you think it'll come back to us for consideration?
Realistically, this design phase could be up to 18 months. As we start to get into design, there are a lot of options for us. One of the things that we'll most likely do early on is bring a construction manager at risk on board to start to look at some of those constructability issues and start to work on how we might phase this project. So there are opportunities that we can speed certain sections up if we so choose, but we'll get into design and start to get some of those base items figured out, the drainage, pavement width, those types of things, turn lanes, signal configuration, and then work on schedule.
Okay. So 18 months for that piece.
Yeah, it's a complicated design. We're designing the Treckle Road segment as well. And of course, they share some drainage issues that we have there at Treckle, and that's going to be a complicated design. Both firms are going to be working together. The firm that's doing Treckle Road will take the lead on that, but this group will support that effort.
Anybody else?
Let's get it done.
Yeah, get it done, Kevin. All right, no other comments, then I'll entertain a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5588, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Cactus
Hey, Gloria,
Transport.
I think that's 5587.
What'd she say?
8, which I-3.
I'm sorry, you are correct. Let me start that one over again. They got stuck together. Resolution number 5587, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal from Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc., to provide professional engineering services for the planned McCartney Road improvements from Pinal Avenue to Interstate 10, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, move that we approve resolution number 5587 as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, let's move to item I-4. This is resolution number 5588.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council award a contract with Cactus Transport LLC, doing business as Cactus Asphalt, and that's for the Desert Valley Reconstruction Project, in an amount not to exceed $878,556. This does include a contingency of $114,594 as well. Staff is requesting we use the One Government Procurement Alliance, 1GPA contract, and that's number 22-15P. And this project will consist of asphalt milling down to the subgrade of these roadway segments, soil cement stabilization, and then repaving of a new 3-inch asphalt lift in those areas. The areas included in this project are the Desert Valley subdivision, as well as 3 cul-de-sacs, the Casita Verde Drive off of McMurray Boulevard, Paseo de Sonora off of, and McMurray Circle, and then Winona Court. I apologize, I mixed that up a little bit. So those are the 4 areas that we'll be doing this project on. We did budget for this project in this fiscal year, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
There is some of the money that we get from the county going into this project. So this is an example of the half-cent sales tax that everybody pays for that is coming up for a vote in '24. Anyway, it's monies that we use from the county to help maintain the communities. How many miles is this, or how much?
I don't have the exact road miles of the project. 3 cul-de-sacs, I believe they each have 4 to 6 houses on them, and then the subdivision, but I couldn't tell you the lane miles right off the top of my head. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Call for resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5588, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Cactus Transport 2 LLC DBA Cactus Asphalt for the Desert Valley Reconstruction Project, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Cactus Asphalt.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5588 as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is item I-5. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Hunter Contracting out of Gilbert, Arizona, with a total bid amount of $15,246,282, as well as a owner's contingency of $1,524,629. And that's for a total of not to exceed spending authority of $16,770,911. This is for the southwest of our wastewater treatment facility. This is our wastewater improvements for part of our collection system. We did originally move forward with this project after design, and we went into a CMAR contract for this project. However, after looking at the project in more detail, we decided to hard bid this project because we felt we were going to get some better value out of that. So we did move forward with a bid, and Hunter was the lowest responsive bidder through that process. And the project includes forced sanitary sewer main, and that's 2 forced mains, 18 inches in diameter, 13,000 linear feet. So they're a dual pipe, total of 26,000 linear feet. We also have our effluent force main, which will be our pipeline that has an opportunity to discharge in the the main branch of the Santa Cruz towards Highway 84, but more importantly, allows us to deliver treated effluent for industrial users throughout that western corridor in our industrial area. And that's going to be a 16 to 30 inch diameter pipeline with 8-inch gate valves so that we can provide that effluent to different users throughout that area. And that is a capacity of 10 million gallons per day capacity of discharge. And then I forgot to mention on the force main, that has a total pumping ability of 25 million gallons a day. So that system can handle everything we foresee in the near future, and even further out than that for our industrial development on that side of town. And then there's also gravity sewers as part of this project, and that's to collect and deliver the sewer to that lift station. And that's approximately 2,500 linear feet in the Accortson alignment, and then 5,000 linear feet in the Bianco alignment. There's 21 manholes associated with that. And part of that project is also a very large jack and bore underneath the UPR railroad track. So this project really does set us up for the industrial development on that west side. We did budget for this project in this fiscal year, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Just
Go ahead.
a comment, really. Obviously, this is a huge investment, but it's something that's needed as we continue to grow. You know, we go 10, 15, 20 years out. I was curious, you might not have it off the top of your head, but when was the last time we made these,
Upgrades.
improvements in some of these, as far as the sewer and I think it's probably been at least 10, 15 years probably, right?
So we did the Burris sewer line in this area, which is the main line that runs all the way down to Peters Road and serves a lot of the industrial in that area. And it also, we took out some lift stations that were associated with our old lines and put those into the Burris line. That's the last major sewer improvement we did in that area. This is all newer sewer, new infrastructure. It's not replacing any existing infrastructure, but it gives us the ability to serve that area that we couldn't serve with that 36-inch Burris line.
It also sets us up for reuse of our effluent too, right?
Effluent.
So
Correct,
we'll
correct.
reuse the water.
Correct. Gives us that ability.
I just want to say Lisa brought up a good point about that, and the mayor with the reuse, but if we hadn't done that Burris sewer line, was it 12 years ago maybe?
12 plus,
Ish?
yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't have a lot of the industry that we have today, because we built that sewer line before anything was really out there. Now we got Lucid and Tractor Supply and a lot of other places out there now. So this is a good investment to make for our industry and expansion.
Any other comments or questions?
Just a comment, Kevin, because the project is going to be so large and talking about the traffic impacts, especially on that Corson Burris, what's the timeline on this as far as
So we are trying to finish this project. Our goal is to finish that within the first quarter of 2025. So our goal is to finish it before the end of 2024. So we've got a very aggressive timeline. The good news is there is no Courtson Road out there. It's just
Yeah.
we're using the Courtson alignment.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bianco, there's a road there, so there will be some impacts in that area, but we'll work with the development that's occurring out there and mitigate those impacts.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, then I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5589, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Hunter Contracting Company for the construction of the West Area Wastewater Pipeline improvements, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland move that we approve resolution number 5589 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, I-6. Larry, is this yours?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff is asking the mayor and council to consider a resolution approving a development agreement between the city of Casa Grande and Cactus 110 LLC and Mainspring Casa Grande LLC, and authorizing the final negotiation and execution of a development agreement and other legal documents related to the project by the city manager. And I know the mayor and council will recall from previous development agreements related to this project, Cactus 110 has acquired the rights to operate the Cactus Mine, which we all know is formerly the Sackatone Mine. While the majority of the mine lies outside of the city of Casa Grande, much of the property surrounding the mine that is intended to use for collateral and supporting operations is now within the city limits. At the September 18th regular council meeting, the mayor and council approved a rezoning of approximately 333.67 acres of property from the Maratea PAD to a new PAD entitled Cactus Mine Phase 2 PAD. Cactus 110 has asked to adopt a development agreement for the property to help vest and ensure the zoning entitlements for that area. This agreement is consistent with the prior development agreement entered into with Cactus 110 and now adopted PAD for the area. Both readings of that particular entitlement have taken place. The development agreement would be for a term of 20 years, subject to early termination if Cactus 110 does not close on this particular parcel, and with the exception for certain industrial properties or other properties owned by Cactus, would establish a 300-foot setback from the northern boundary of the property and any waste rock storage facility or leach pad, as well as ensuring a 3-to-1 slope beginning at the setback line for those uses. Cactus agrees to implement a local hiring policy where possible, consistent with the terms of the first agreement. So very similar to the agreement that the mayor and council had previously entered into. Cactus agrees to the city's obligation include providing timely review of permits and approvals and contractually vesting the uses approved by the PAD zoning. In addition, it should be noted, and I know that the mayor and council heard this at the zoning case as well. In addition to the 333 acres, Cactus 110 is also looking to acquire other property from the Mainspring Casa Grande because city staff is recommending different setbacks, which is really the primary element within this development agreement, and development standards for the area. The purchase and rezone of that area will be by separate action and, if appropriate, a separate development agreement. I know that many have heard the economic impacts of reopening the mine in this particular area, but Rounds Consulting Group conducted an economic and fiscal impact analysis of the Cactus Mine in late 2020. The analysis summarizes both the restart and future development of the mine for an anticipated economically useful life of 28 years. That has been expanded since the original zoning case and development agreement. The report suggests the mining operation will produce immense economic activity for our city, Pinal County, as well as the state by generating new jobs and tax revenues. The key findings of the report outlined that one-time construction and future capital expenditures planned for the useful life of the mine are estimated to total approximately $642 million. Construction of capital expenditures for the mine over the useful life yields approximately $413 million in wages, which is equivalent to an average of 287 jobs each year, earning a wage of $51,400. The wages and overall economic output produced by operations is equal to $1.2 billion and $4.4 billion respectively. And finally, new tax revenues to state, county, and city are expected to total approximately $241.3 million, or an equivalent of $8.6 million annually. And I think the terminology that the Arizona Sonoran representatives have suggested is it's equal to a Super Bowl every 2 years in Casa Grande. So the overall fiscal impact to the city is negligible. We do not anticipate any meaningful fiscal impact to comply with the terms because we have no real incentives tied to this. And I just outlined the economic impacts that we anticipate as a result of the mine reopening. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would entertain any questions.
Questions, anyone? All right, seeing none, then I'll call for resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5590, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a development agreement between the city of Casa Grande, Mainspring Casa Grande LLC, and Cactus 110 LLC, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the development agreement and other documents reasonably necessary for the purpose of implementing the development agreement.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5590 as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second, Gloria, please get a roll call.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, we'll move into our item K. These are ordinances, resolutions, and other matters and subjects requiring action by the council. Item K1. Gloria?
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council, I do have one of our commission, Arts and Humanities Commission members here, Joe Hankin, that would like to come up and address the council regarding this item.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, thank you for considering the resolution. I know you have a lot of information. We'd like to just explain a little bit more about why we are considering the change from humanities to culture. And it really has to do with the definition. And humanities, they actually, it's a term. I taught humanities, so it's a term, and it describes the study of human society and culture. So humanities expands our knowledge of cultures and helps us understand what brings us together and what differentiates us. Culture is the aggregation of a community's beliefs, our attitudes, our approaches. I mean, you have a culture on the city council. We have a culture in everywhere we go. So it handles our social artifacts and the way we communicate. So social artifacts, which is what we're all about in the Arts and right now Humanities Commission, include all those wonderful things of theater and books and film and music and architecture, our sculptures that we're really looking at and we've expanded at the Rec Center, even fashion and other things that come before us and that we enjoy funding. And in fact, it was mentioned to me tonight, the Hispanic heritage activities that we had last week, all of those things, so many of them come to us. And so because we are part of that culture, we would ask that you would indeed consider and approve the name change from Arts and Humanities Commission to the Arts and Culture Commission. Any questions?
Any questions or for?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. Any other comments, Gloria?
No, just to add, just one thing, just to add that this discussion from the Arts and Humanities Commission came about in our planning for our next 5-year arts plan. So in the next few months, you'll see it come before the City Council, and now it will also include the name change if approved.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any comments or questions from up here, so I'll call for an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 938.4, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending ordinance number 938.1 as previously amended to change the name of the Arts and Humanities Commission to the Arts and Cultural Commission, establishing the severability of the various sections of the ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve ordinance number 938.4 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, the next one, but you have Casa Grande Arts and Humanities in here. You're going to change that to cultural?
It wasn't changed.
We will.
Does that mean we'll have to redo this one? Or can you just change it?
Effective.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, item K2. Gloria?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this next action item before you is the ratifying the submission of a grant application by the Arts and Humanities Commission and accepting a grant award from the Fort McDowell Nation for our 2023 Arizona Benefits Fund grant. Now, the reason why we didn't put this on the consent agenda, first of all, is that we want to thank all of our Native community partners. We've been very fortunate to receive monies from Gila River Indian Community, Auction Indian Community, and Tohono O'odham. And we reached a little bit further, and we said, well, let's check to see if we could get funding from the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation. And we were very successful in receiving $10,000 for our application for our mini grant program for our fiscal school year of 2023-24. Now, the Arts and Humanities Commission recognizes that there is not very many opportunities in our schools to experience art, whether it's through art classes or other classes incorporating some type of art. So our commission has been very active in pursuing grant opportunities and even budgeting monies from their allocation every year to continue this mini grant program. But we did want to take the opportunity to thank our Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation for granting this grant to the commission, but also to thank our other Native community partners, Gila River Indian Community, Tohono O'odham, and Auction, who have awarded in the past to the Arts and Humanities Commission.
Great, thank you. This is a great opportunity to get some art back and some work back in the schools, because I know this is an area that has been cut over the years. So applaud your efforts, applaud the commission's efforts for all they've done in going after the tribal dollars as well, the tribal grants. And thank you to our tribal neighbors too.
Yes.
So any other comments? Anybody have anything?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, then I'll have a call for resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5591, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing and ratifying the submission of a grant application to the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation on behalf of the Casa Grande Arts and Humanities Commission, authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds for the 2023 Arizona Benefits Fund grant, authorizing the city manager to execute a grant agreement, authorizing the city finance director to accept and disperse funds as necessary, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5591 as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, time for our public meetings, public hearings. This is item L on the agenda. First item on the agenda is actually not an action item, but for our information. It is item L1. Paul, is that you or? Mr. Gagliardi.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this item in front of you is an annexation public hearing for the proposed Roping Ridge annexation. It's approximately 218 acres, and the annexation area is shown on the screen here. Early Road would be the northern boundary, followed by, to the west, it would be the projection of Colorado Street. The south boundary is the alley that runs just north of the lots abutting Jimmy Kerr, and then it goes as far east as the existing city limits, as you see, that lies west of Arizola Road. This public hearing is conducted in compliance with a state statute which requires a hearing to first be scheduled after the filing of a blank annexation petition. The applicant, Daniel Degon, on behalf of the Nolans, had come forth with an annexation request, and the first step is to record a blank annexation petition. The Nolan property is just approximately about 58 acres of the overall 218 acres subject to this potential annexation. The reason for the additional acreage was for a number of factors. One, to comply with continuity requirements through the state statutes. And this time, there's not to be a decision made. Following this public hearing, the applicant can circulate the annexation petition to collect signatures from owners of property within the annexation area. There's 15 parcels within the annexation area, along with a 33-foot portion of 6 additional properties where the Early Road public roadway easement currently lies. In order to proceed after this meeting, the petition must pass both tests. When the applicant goes to collect signatures, they have to collect signatures from at least 51% of the landowners within the annexation area, and the land owned by these landowners must be at least 51% of the overall assessed value of the parcels contained within the annexation area. So once that is done or achieved, then there will be another city council meeting scheduled, where council will be asked to consider annexing this territory into the city. And at that time, city council will be entertaining initial zoning designations. Now, those initial zoning designations would be those zoning districts that don't add additional uses or density to how it's currently zoned in the county. Some owners of properties within that annexation area may be subsequently requesting zone changes around that time for their particular land. Those subsequent zone changes will require both Planning Commission and council consideration. The initial notification for this annexation request actually occurred several months ago, and there had been a public hearing scheduled in June. But that annexation attempt was withdrawn, and the city had formally withdrew it through Pinal County due to a technical error. At that time, staff had heard from several property owners, primarily along Early Road. As a result of the updated notification for this evening's meeting, staff heard from an additional property owner. We were unsuccessful contacting them back, so it was uncertain where their particular residence lied. But through the message, their concern was that they were concerned that they would have to move if their property was annexed. And usually that's not the case, but we wanted to understand what their concerns were pertaining to that. With regard to the comments that I heard from landowners along Early, I provided this graphic to provide a little explanation. So the annexation area is in blue to the south of Early, but there's a 33-foot area that's part of the Early Road public roadway easement that would be included in the annexation. As you see, it includes a sliver of 6 parcels that lie on the north side of Early. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to offer more information and answer questions as you may have them.
Questions from council?
No, just a comment, because I know that the citizen that contacted me regarding this, I think it was, she was on Zion Street, and she was concerned about having to move, and she'd lived there for a long, long time. So I hope that we'll still be able to get a hold of her, just in the fact that we want to make sure that they understand, what is going on. So I will follow up on that as well. That's it.
One question I had is some of these houses that are in here are kind of more rural. I don't know if they have animals or not, but would they be able to maintain that if they have animals and stuff, if we annex them into the city?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Herman, that's a great question. So
I'm not sure if they do, but I'm just...
The quick answer is yes, because most of the county zoning right now is general rural. And assuming that animals are allowed in that zone district, which I'm 99% sure that's yes, because that's a very equivalent zoning to our urban ranch designation. And if the annexation is successful, we would consider an initial zoning designation it can't add uses or density, but the most similar would be that urban ranch, which would allow those same entitlements that they currently have.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, Lisa?
So, did you say that it started, so the Nowlin family has 58 acres, so is that where it kind of started? They wanted to annex in, then you said you brought in the additional acreage for continuity. So that many acres though? I mean, is it west of Peart? Is that what the additional acres over here in the Nowlin one is over to the east of Peart?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Fitzgibbons, definitely all of the property east of Peart was necessary for contiguity purposes, because there's certain rules about, as you can see, it extends quite a bit south of Early, and you can't annex I think the rule is it has to be as wide or there's a certain dimension as it is long. It's not a square that you have to annex, but you can't be beyond a certain length. So they needed to incorporate every property east of Peart that you see for the most part. And a lot of that property is owned by the Nolans, but there of course is some additional parcels that were included on the north side of Zion and on the to the north of Noble Circle, further to the east.
Why not below Zion, that little section right there?
There's nothing below Zion that is being annexed other than the Nolan property.
Okay.
But as the way the annexation rules work is the city has to consider including the entire right-of-way, so the entirety of the Zion Street right-of-way would be included, but not the lots that lie to the south of that right-of-way.
Okay.
On the west side of Pier, that was actually not needed for contiguity purposes. However, that property owner had pursued the city concurrently with a request to annex. And instead of me coming here the next meeting presenting an additional annexation request, they had the opportunity to participate in the annexation request with the Nolans.
Bob?
James, the section kind of in the middle but east of Peart, is the history of that area a dairy? But it's not functioning now?
Mr. Mayor, Council Member Huddleston.
That's Nolan's property.
Yeah, that's Nolan.
Okay.
He's the dairy.
Yeah.
Okay. And is the small square closer up to Early, is that the cemetery?
It is, yes.
Okay. And does that present any challenges?
It's true.
Well, so the
Never annexed
cemetery
a
is.
cemetery before.
It is owned by the city, so we would
Oh, it
actually
is?
be, we would be, or not the city, but the Historical Society, correct? Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
But, so they would be one of the signatories on the annexation request.
Okay.
But it wouldn't present a challenge from an annexation standpoint. It would be more of, at the time that the property surrounding it went to develop, we would have to be mindful of compatibility and appropriate and respectful screening measures to give the cemetery its own space compared to what develops around there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, this is a public hearing, so before I open the public hearing, I just want to remind everybody to please, if you approach the podium, state your name and your address for us, for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. So this is on item L1, and it's an annexation public hearing. No action will be taken tonight, but this is your opportunity to address council. Anybody here?
You have the 2 cards?
Yeah, you had 2 cars.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure that that's the,
She's here.
oh,
She's here.
yeah. Well, they can come up. Come on, Tina, go ahead. If this is what you're here for.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address the issue. We have been waiting since June, so I'm glad that this is happening tonight. Some of the questions that we did have, I live, 15188 West Early Road, so I do live right across the street from the far west corner of this. I have personally went and spoken with all 5 of the 6 owners out there. One of the main questions that we had, and we did have this question early on when we first got the notice, of the possibility of us being incorporated in also, to be brought into the city. We were told at that time that's not something that's doable. My concern is, and our concern is, that we are going to be a little tiny island now all to ourselves because everything around us is coming into the city and being annexed. I do have, like I said, I have one other owner that I need to go and speak with to kind of cover some questions that they have. It's been very helpful. The city has been helpful in answering a lot of questions for us. Also had a couple opportunities to talk to some other people. So we do have that concern. We don't want to be out there. I mean, we understand we've been the county. We bought out there on purpose because it's the county and the animals and the skies and the stuff that we have out there. But we know that everything's moving around us. We're aware of that. But we also want to be very thoughtful of that and be aware so that we're not just stuck out there. We have some communities here in Casa Grande that have been stuck, and they are county islands, and they are stuck. And so we would like to know what steps we should do. What would be those things we could do to maybe try to get in with that, or I'm just concerned that if this moves along and gets approved after the process and then we come back, we've missed out in the opportunity to be considered. So that's our first and foremost thing that we would like to put out there, that we would love to have that conversation to see if we can move forward with seeing a favorable result on that. The other question that we did have was, because we do have that 33 feet, the easement that is on our side of, not our side, I apologize, it seems to be our side. We personally have taken it, but we're really concerned about where does that fall. We tried to get out there, it was pretty hilarious. We were trying to get out there and find out where does 33 feet go. We don't even know where the center of the road is anymore. And so we didn't know how far in does that go. Does that come up to some of the fences? Because we do have block walls out there, and we have our turning and our mailboxes and things like that. So there was some concern about how far in does that go and what does that look like. Now we know that would all be rectified in the event that we can do favorable conversation and get our properties also annexed in, but we don't know what that looks like. So the other questions I think are going to all just, I think they're all kind of coming together a little bit. As we hear what's going on and follow this along, I think it's going to answer what the other things that we have. So
Okay. Thank you, Tina.
that's my statement. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So can we ask questions on this, since it is public hearing? So why can't we add that into the annex?
Well, and I apologize if there was a miscommunication. I think that it would be eligible to be annexed for sure. I believe the discussion is that at the time, the annexation process involves a formal survey and legal description of the entire area to be annexed. And at the time of the conversation, that annexation petition had already been filed, and it was proceeding around a very specific prescribed timeline. So it's good feedback to hear that there's some potentially other properties out there that may want to be included, but that would either have to be done at the very outset prior to the recording of the blank annexation petition, or there's an opportunity for those property owners to schedule a meeting with staff, and they can come forward with a annexation petition of their own that would include a map of the area that would be looked at just to make sure it is indeed crossing off all the marks for contiguity, although I don't see any red flags, and we would proceed from there.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like that they're a little late for this petition, but that there's a window that they could do their own annexation?
Correct.
Okay.
And another good point is that the state statutes are such that we can't annex around a property and leave a county island. It would automatically have to be included.
Right.
That was one of the reasons why the large 40-acre piece that you see to the east of the Noland area had to be included, because we wouldn't have been able to box that out without automatically including it within the annexation.
Okay, so if my understanding is correct, then they should come and talk to you.
Correct. Or maybe, and another thing is, because there's a lot of interest from different landowners, another opportunity would be if there's any one looking to annex west of the projection of Colorado Street, that would be a scenario where they would automatically need to include those 6 parcels, because it would then box that in.
Okay. You guys okay with that? Mr. Gagliardi? Okay. All right. Okay, and then I think I had one more here. Aaron Jacob?
Yeah, here he is.
Are you here for this one, Aaron? Yes, sir. Okay.
Aaron Jacob, 2327 Southport Road, Casa Grande 85122. We can solve that problem of not leaving island if we don't even do this project at all. So I'm right on the corner of that Zion Street where it is being annexed or proposed to be annexed. And you're right about the concerns about animals. And the lady that commented earlier about people being gravitated towards a rural community. So I have animals, which only 99% sure if I can keep. And the concerns about being moving is not, please don't take that as a technical concern. I don't know who said that. Technically, I may not have to move, but I didn't move to a rural community to grow animals for my own meat for it to be annexed into a city. Well, now I have to move. I have to go somewhere and find a rural, quiet place. So all I'm requesting is let me live in peace. Don't disturb my peace. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Is there anybody else here that I didn't have a speaking card for who was here to speak on this item L1? All right. Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing. Does council have any other comments on this? No. All right. And since there's no action, then we'll move on to item L2. This is approval of ordinance number 1178.441. Planning and zoning. Planning and development, sorry.
I'm just waiting for the screen to pop up.
Okay.
I can't think without it. There we go. So this is a request for PAD zoning for a PAD known as McCartney Commons, located on the south side of McCartney and west of I-10. A little background is it's currently zoned, it's approximately a 20-acre area, and there's a portion of it currently zoned B2 with the remainder of it zoned R3, which is B2 is a general business zoning and R3 is a multi-zoning or multifamily zoning. The requested PAD would essentially become known as McCartney Commons, where there would be a commercial area towards the northern portion of those 20 acres, and then towards the south, it would be entitled for multifamily uses. When reviewing criteria for zone changes to PADs, these all have to be evaluated, and the staff report and Planning Commission consideration of this back in June had contemplated these criteria, but I want to just focus on the highlighted items. The first is conformance with the general plan. All of these 20 acres falls within the commerce and business general plan designation, which does support both commercial uses and multifamily uses. And it does, this PAD does propose a combination of both those. When looking at appropriate land uses, you can see that not only does it include multifamily and commercial, but it does also encourage mixed residential, offices, etc. And it does include PAD as an appropriate base zone category. One of the goals of the general plan talks about improving site design in commercial and industrial locations, particularly those along higher value corridors. Staff and Planning Commission agree that putting commercial land use towards the north next to McCartney, with that close proximity to the McCartney I-10 interchange, is a good arrangement of proposed land use, with the multifamily sitting to the south. One of the action steps to that goal, however, is to encourage connectivity between sites for both vehicular and non-vehicular transportation. So what this PAD proposes to do is to extend Tucker from the south. Tucker Road currently lines the planned Marabella subdivision south to this and extends it north just to the east of parcel C. They can't run that road due north to McCartney because it would be too close to the McCartney I-10 interchange. So they are proposing an east-west version of that road running in between the commercial parcels and the multifamily parcels. The potential alignment would look something like this to the left. However, it's not quite sure exactly how the parcel to the west is going to develop. The parcel to the west is currently zoned urban ranch. There is a pending PAD zoning for a small portion of it, but it's unclear exactly if the alignment of that east-west road will work with ultimate plans for the urban ranch property to the west. But I'll talk about that in an upcoming slide here. Just put a pin in that and I'll be right back to that. With regard to conformance to zoning, the PAD guide does outline some development standards and uses, specifically within the multifamily area. It would have a maximum height of 35 feet. And then within the commercial area, it would have a maximum height of 45 feet, which would be a way to attract more intense uses that might be reliant upon that interchange, such as a hotel. Now, with regard to traffic impact vehicular ingress and egress, that was also looked at with the PAD. It's known per ADOT requirements that the preferred first full access location from the I-10 interchange should be Tucker Road, which sits about 1,500 feet west of the on-ramp and off-ramp there. But as you can see, this proposed PAD does not go as far as Tucker Road, where it lies north of McCartney. Now, they will potentially be able to have other types of turning movements onto McCartney. It just can't be full access. They will likely be able to get a driveway leading from their commercial parcels onto McCartney, but in terms of a full access condition, they would be reliant on Tucker, where it sits currently on the north side of McCartney Road. As I mentioned on that slide earlier where I said put a pin in that, I would be back. Currently, the way their land use plan shows the east-west road dividing the commercial from the multifamily is at a certain location in the PAD that may not exactly be where it will continue through the Harbor Ridge Apartments piece. It's possible that it might end up getting configured a little bit to the north or a little bit to the south in coordinating with the neighboring property. So Planning Commission did impose a recommendation for council to consider, which is due to the possibility of the relocation of the Tucker Road alignment between the commercial and multifamily areas. Planning Commission may authorize a change in the allocation of land uses within the PAD for each parcel by up to 20% in conjunction with the consideration of a major site plan. So basically what that means is the commercial area is approximately 10 acres and the multifamily area is approximately 9. While it gets worked out exactly whether that east-west alignment is going to go to the north or to the south will allow the commercial area to grow by as much as 20% or shrink by as much as 20% without it being considered an intensification of the land use as shown in the approved PAD. It provides some flexibility. With regard to the public notification efforts, we followed that which is required by city code. We did receive 2 comments. One was provided by the Knowles, who own the land to the west. They had concerns about that planned east-west road within the McCartney Commons PAD because it does predetermine the location of this road onto their property, affecting the potential size and locations of parcel configurations they may intend to sell, which is one of the reasons why we have pushed forward that recommendation that, you know, that road might shift a little bit to the north or shift a little bit to the south to help ensure that that be coordinated. They also had concerns regarding driveway locations onto McCartney Road. due to the fact that both the city and ADOT has very specific access management standards, particularly along a principal arterial, they had concerns that driveways leading onto McCartney within this proposed PAD would somewhat limit them potentially with regard to where they could put driveways onto McCartney on their site that fronts McCartney. At a PAD level, it's hard to lock into place driveways because we would need to see a major site plan where we get a full traffic impact analysis that would be assessed and evaluated to determine whether proposed driveways are safe and adequate. We're certain that that a true full access would have to be through the Knowles property via Tucker, but in terms of whether there would be some additional other more limiting movements east of there, it's going to be subject to individual traffic impact analysis reviews. Another comment that we received was from the Arizona State Land Board, who owns property to the east of McCartney Commons. They had indicated that although it is more of a major site plan concern, they would be requiring access to their land from McCartney Commons. Fortunately, that can be achieved with the fact that their PAD does include the extension of Tucker Road from the Marabella subdivision that lies just to the south. So at its July 6th public hearing, Planning Commission did move to forward a recommendation that City Council approve the McCartney Commons PAD zone change from B2 and R3, subject to the following conditions of record. One was with regard to the ability for the commercial or the multifamily areas to increase or reduce in size by 20%. And the other one is the standard condition regarding the ability to acquire McCartney Road right-of-way prior to when we would ordinarily get it if necessary. We would ordinarily seek that out in conjunction with a major site plan, but this condition would allow for the city to work with that property owner to get the right-of-way prior to that if necessary. And that concludes my presentation.
So the McCartney Road right-of-way, we're going to have to get anyway because of the plan to widen McCartney all the way from Pinal to I-10. So it's going to be in process here soon anyway, right? So I think it would behoove the Knowles group to talk to the McCartney Commons group and figure out a good plan that works for both of them, instead of one doing something and then the other not liking it and getting stuck with something. Is there any way to make sure they're talking to each other? I'm sure they must be talking to each other.
We've encouraged them to do so, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I guess yours isn't working.
It's been acted out.
I understand they have been in some conversations, and primarily because the Knowles is, they do have property that is under potential sale contract to an applicant that's going to be seeking major site plan approval within the next month or two. So as a result of that, there's been some discussions, but I believe both the Knowles and someone representing the applicants here to elaborate.
Okay. And then just tell the state trust land to sell it. Sorry. Yes, Bob.
So I don't have any problem with the zoning change, but I hate what we're looking at on Tucker, that those don't line up. And I guess I would ask, as part of our master plan, was that addressed in any way? Was there an initial plan on what Tucker was going to do?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Huddleston, unfortunately, no, because our master plan only deals with arterial roadways. and Tucker is a collector road. But really what it stems from is that where Tucker sits on the east side of the proposed PAD is the original Hennis section line. Hennis doesn't go due north because it does run into the interstate interchange. So on the general plan, it shows it veering off that section line, and it actually lines up with Palomino Parkway. But had it been successful with running straight up that section line, it would have been an arterial in theory. However, it was exactly because of that realignment that had prompted the need to look at extending Tucker in such a way where it can line up with where it currently terminates, just north of McCartney, but yet meet up with Tucker as planned along the original Hennis section line, so it can continue moving traffic through the, providing traffic access for the Marabella PAD and beyond.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but it just doesn't look right. But, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Matt?
I had a quick comment. I like seeing when we're adding commercial, actually adding net acreage of commercial to a project. So I think that'll work out well. As long as we can access it, Bob.
Yeah. The challenge down the road in the next 5 years or so is going to be McCartney's interchange. That McCartney interchange is going to have to be redone. It's way too small. And so that's something we'll need to look at. Maybe get it on the radar. If we could widen it, we could get a big retailer to go in there. Anyway. Okay, yeah, I have no more comments. Anybody else? All right, this is public hearing, so I will open item L2 to public comment. Is there anybody here? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address for us, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Daniel Chambers. I work for Quick Trip Corporation, and I office out of 116 East Broadway Road in Tempe, Arizona. We are the potential neighbor to what you guys are looking at here. We just wanted to come and let you guys know that we have been working. We have been working with a neighbor. We've been working with the city to try to come up with a good solution for all of this. I know the Knowles are going to speak next and talk a little bit about it. But we have been, I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. We've had a couple meetings with them. We're just working on trying to get the best layout that works, what they're going to do, what we're going to do with Tucker. I think we have a good solution that'll work to help to accommodate it and to alleviate some of the traffic and the concerns of getting over to them.
Okay, good. Hopefully there's a win-win there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anyone else?
Hello, I'm Jeff Knoll, 4428 East Calle Berry in Phoenix, Arizona. Also here with my father, Bill Knoll, who's owned the property for a number of years. Just like Daniel had said with Quick Trip, we have been working with Simpatico or the potential owners of that property in regards to the alignment of the east-west portion of Tucker, which is why that 20% variance, I guess, exists when we are initially talking about it. But now that Quick Trip is at a point where we have our site plan, we know where Tucker would work for our property, and we've presented that to them. It doesn't seem like there necessarily be an issue with where we would like it for the Simpatico or for the McCartney Commons. It just isn't necessarily reflected in these slides. So I'm not sure if we need what needs to be done in regards to where these parcel lines are drawn to accommodate where our project is going to go. And then I think the east-west portion of McCartney aligning with our property problem would go away as long as they take a look at our site plan and then adjust their parcel lines by whatever north or south that it is. That would alleviate the problem there. I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Well, thank you. So you guys are working on that, hopefully, right? And on with the McCartney Commons PAD.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, for this discussion, sounds like we're talking about just the east-west portion of Tucker as opposed to access off of McCartney. There's some other disagreements there. We've proposed, because we have the property line, sharing the access off of McCartney. They're not too sure what they want to do, whether, the city would like us to split the access. We're happy to do that, but they may not want that, so we're showing it either all the way on our property, we're willing to split it. So the access off of McCartney, there's some additional issues, but for the purpose of this conversation, sounds like we're talking about east-west McCartney. We have brought that to them. We do have our site plan, so we know where it will work for us. It's just a matter of them adjusting their property or their potential parcel lines to accommodate.
Yeah, and I just recommend, continue to work with them and work with the city.
Yeah.
Because as our plans are being put together now, right, and we just approved it tonight, actually, approved the engineering, moving forward with the engineering.
Right. And
So
Quick Trip
makes-
site plan includes the widening of McCartney, and all of that.
Yeah, and obviously, I don't know if we're planning medians in there or not, or if it's just a 5-lane road. So that could affect things as well.
Yep.
So
Okay.
anyway, work together, work with us, we'll figure a solution
Okay,
out.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the audience? Ma'am?
Mayor, members of the council, and staff, I'm Jan Caldera with Matrix Design Group, 2020 North Central, Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm here on behalf of the buyer of the property, and I believe the owner also has a representative here tonight, the current owner of the property. So if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer them. Access is the whole key to this property. You look at it and you think, well, it's great access, but then you've got the restrictions that we're dealing with.
Sure.
And I believe that the two owners are working together. As far as I know, there may be a disagreement or two, but when the site plan comes in, we will work closely with the city on
All right.
getting
Yeah,
those
and-
resolved.
And as this interchange develops and gets larger, of course, most of it sits in a state trust land piece, the interchange itself, the I-10 interchange. And there's potential development on the north of you, and then as this gets improved and gets bigger, these interchanges and these exits may change.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think if it goes back to a typical diamond, which I'm not aware of what the plans are for that interchange, I don't think it's even
well, we don't
begun
have
yet.
it, we don't have any, but
Yeah.
I believe it's coming.
But if it did go back to a typical diamond, if it's possible, that would actually give better access. It would move the interchange further to the east.
Right, okay.
You know,
Yeah,
and I'm
no,
just doing that just based on
Right,
measurements. We haven't looked at a design yet.
okay. Well, just keep that in your back of your mind.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
all right, thank you. We always like to see people working together. It's always good. Collaboration is good. So, and work with these guys. We got some of the best planners over here. They can help you out as well. So just keep in conversation because this is developing. So appreciate all your work on it too. So thank you. Anybody else here want to speak? Okay. Anything else from council? All right, then I'll close the public hearing and we'll call for an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 1178.441, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from general business B2 and multifamily residential R3 to Planned Area Development, PAD, on property located generally along the south side of McCartney Road and 1/4 mile west of Interstate 10, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1178.441 as presented.
Second?
Motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender,
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, we'll move to item L3. This is also a public hearing, and this is considering approval of ordinance number 1178.440. Jacqueline, is that you?
Yes, just waiting for the slides again. All right, good evening, council. This next request is for a zone change. It's approximately 4.8 acres located at the northwest corner of 11th Street and Schultz Street. And the request is from I-1 to I-2. From there. Here are the three categories we look at in regarding a zone change. The first one is that the action is consistent with the city's general plan, including the goals, policies, and other applicable elements. And one of the goals of the manufacturing industry land use category is to encourage and promote infill sites. The second criteria is that the rezoning conforms to the general plan, and the requested I-2 is an appropriate zoning district in the manufacturing industry land use category. And the third one is that the proposed zone change is necessary and proper at this time to meet the land use needs of the residents of the city. And per the 2030 general plan, expansion of industrial zoning within the manufacturing and industry areas is needed to meet the goals and policies of the city. And by changing the zoning to I-2, it would allow additional uses to take place in the infill type setting, meeting the goals and policies of the general plan. Regarding notification efforts, the staff and applicant met all the requirements. I did receive one phone call inquiry prior to Planning Commission, just asking what the request was. So with that, at the September Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission voted 7-0 to forward a recommendation of approval for the zone change from Garden and Light Industrial I-1 to General Industrial I-2 with the following condition of approval. And again, this is our typical right-of-way condition. Happy to answer any questions.
Any question from council? Okay. Seeing no questions, then I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here who is here to speak on this item L3? Okay. Seeing none, then I'm going to close the public hearing and call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 1178.440, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from garden and light industrial I-1 to general industrial I-2 on property generally located at the northwest corner of 11th Street and Schultz Street, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 1178.440 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender,
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, we'll go to item L4. This is again a public hearing and considering approval of ordinance number 1397.17.60. Jacqueline?
All right, good evening, council. This is a text amendment for self-storage in the zoning code. So staff has received inquiries for self-storage locations for a variety of reasons. The current code only allows self-storage in the B4 and I2 with a conditional use permit. and also PADs. However, most PADs requirements typically means the site must be at least 5 acres. The current CUP standards for self-storage are outdated and do not result in the type of product that we would like to see and is an asset to the community. So staff feels that self-storage is a good use on sites without certificates of assured water supply, and also are relatively good neighbors because they are low traffic generators. So this text amendment would allow self-storage in the B2, which is the general commercial, with a conditional use permit, as well as I1 as a principally permitted use. And it will also change the B4 and I2 from a CUP to a permitted use as well. Staff wants to raise the standards and aesthetics for these sites while allowing them in additional zoning districts. So this text amendment also establishes development standards for self-storage. Going over some of the proposed changes have been outlined in the RCA and staff report. I did want to hit a little bit on the development standards, which includes architectural requirements, establishes setbacks and landscaping requirements. Some of those architectural requirements include changes in planes, texture, masonry, windows or faux windows, trellises and vines, and some elevation changes, just for a few examples. Here are some examples of architectural details that we would like to see in self-storage products moving forward. Regarding notification efforts, a display ad was published in the dispatch, and I did not receive any comments regarding this text amendment. So with that, at the September Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Commission voted 7-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to establish self-storage facilities within the General Commercial B2 zoning district as a conditional use permit, establish self-storage facilities within the Garden Light Industrial I1 as a principally permitted use, and change self-storage facilities from a conditional use in community services B4 and general industrial I2 zoning districts to a principally permitted uses, and establishes development standards for said self-storages within the B2, B4, I1, and I2. And the following sections have been amended. Happy to answer any questions.
I appreciate you doing this, Paul. Thank you. Thanks, Jacqueline. I didn't understand why we allowed storage units in I2 and B4 and not in I1. So anyway, this makes good sense. Thank you. Any comments from council? All right, this is our last public hearing item. This is item L4. Is there anybody here I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here who wants to address item L4? All right, seeing nobody jump up, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll call for an ordinance number, please. Gloria?
Ordinance number 1397.17.60. An ordinance of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending Title 17 zoning of the Casa Grande Municipal Code regarding self-storage facilities, development standards, and uses, establishing the severability of the various sections of the ordinance, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve ordinance number 1397.17.60 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavender.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. Larry, is this when we're going to do it after the reports? Okay. We'll close this meeting and open this one? Okay. All right. Reports is our last item on this agenda. Anthony, I'll start with you.
Just want to make mention, Pastor Juan Hume's Celebration of Life Memorial will be October the 27th, next Friday. And it would be held at the Presbyterian Church, the Family Life Center at 10 a.m. Once again, it's Pastor Hume's Memorial. It should be in the dispatch on tomorrow. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be coming out. And so that we all just pray for his wife.
that it? Donna?
Just a couple things. Thank you to Clean and Beautiful, folks that came out and helped clean up our community. And then I also wanted to mention that we had a Girl Scout troop, 1449, that came to City Council last week and learned about government, how we work, and they were able to sit in the council chambers and had some play decisions that they had to make, and it was really good to see young ladies here trying to learn about the things that we do, and I know some of them were looking to watch tonight, and I hope that they were encouraged by the professionalism that we had in this session. And that's it.
Matt?
Just a couple things tonight, Mayor. Number one, the Youth Commission is having their day of shredding this Saturday at First American Credit Union from 9 to 12, and we'll also have help from the Public Works Department for e-cycling, so you can bring old electronics, TVs, telephones, answering machines, caller ID boxes, stuff that really confuses the kids on the Youth Commission when they see it, because they're like, what is this thing? They've never had a cordless phone, they've never had an answering machine, so it's great to see their faces. So, yeah, computers, all that stuff, bring it down, boxes of paper, we'll shred it for you right there. Donations are accepted. Following that, from 5 to 9 p.m. downtown, by the Neon Sign Park, is the Rotary Club of Casa Grande and Casa Grande Main Street's second annual Oktoberfest. And if you haven't seen the advertisement, if you want the opportunity to see me in Lederhosen, go to that event. So that will be downtown. Hopefully other people will be wearing Lederhosen, but if not, for sure I will. And my last name is German, and I have Dachshund wiener dogs, so I mean, they're not coming because they're jerks around people, but I'm coming, so. And I have raffle tickets for sale for $5 each. Notice it is still in the plastic as I have been shirking my duties. You can win $2,500. So if you want some, let me know. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, man. Jeff?
Well, first of all, I want to thank our city manager, Larry Raines, Councilmember Edwards, Councilmember McBride, Councilmember Herman, Councilmember Fitzgibbons, as well as you, Mayor, for attending our first annual Chamber of Commerce Bowl between Vista and Union. I think Mr. Weaver has a picture from the game. This is freshman Kayla Tacker from Casa Grande Union. And this is a heck of a catch, wasn't it, Anthony?
Nice catch.
And so, but it was a great night to showcase the talent, that we have some very talented ladies in our community that are playing football. Union will be moving on to the state playoffs next week. They should have a home game on Tuesday night, but we appreciate it was the biggest crowd of the season last week and all the support. Hopefully, all of you received your ballots for the upcoming override elections. I want to thank Jody for the excellent article that she did on Saturday about the bipartisan support of this. Also, Danny, this weekend, my dog and my wife and I went out for a road trip and visited some other communities and had some ideas for some Parks and Rec ideas. Sholo has the Meadow Walk with scarecrows, different ones similar to our Electric Light Festival where people vote on it. We really enjoyed it. And congratulations to Councilmember Bride, her donkey. They call it something else in Superior, but I want to respect those. We are a G-rated show. Won the championship for the distance, I think in about 2 hours, right, Donna?
I wasn't walking, you guys.
I don't suggest we have a donkey race here in Casa Grande. Those donkeys were not happy. A lot of them are very resistant. I was thinking during the opening prayer tonight how much we're going to miss Pastor Juan. I mentioned recently how hard it was to go after him when he came in here and did the opening prayer. He was my partner for the last 10 years planning in unity marches. I talked to Jody last week about he was the one that was inclusive and having multi-denominations present for different activities will be, I was talking to Councilmember Edwards tonight, we're going to be highlighting that this year in the Unity March and remembering him at that event as well. And so Anthony's got an awesome responsibility in how he's going to put all that together. And I appreciated Anthony's story about how difficult it was to keep Juan in a time commitment on some of his prayers and the stories that we've shared about him going way over his 2-minute time period. So God bless him and his family.
What's done is done is done.
Yes, sir.
That's just coming.
Lisa?
Just a couple things. So I know this is the time of year where we have so much going on in the community. The weather's nice. And I was excited to see that we changed the Arts and Humanities Commission to Culture, because there's so many of these activities that we're doing with the Martin Luther King March, the Oktoberfest. This past weekend, we did the Hispanic Heritage Month downtown. And I'll tell you, it was, we talked about this in our strategic plan on events, and bring events with meaning and people, what the community wants. And I don't know if any of you attended, but it was a great event on Saturday. We had a large group of people. We had, the Spanish, bands, entertainment, arts and crafts. I'm just so proud of Casa Grande Main Street, Holly and Sol at the Community Services Department. Danny, she's just a little go-getter, and I'm just so proud of her taking this on and being open to change and trying something new, and just being there the whole time. She was just great. Great event, great night. Couple exciting things coming up, things that we've worked on for many, many years. CG Link, our transit system, they're going to have their open house, or I guess kickoff. It's a kickoff on Monday. I'm really excited about that at 9 a.m. at the Dorothy Powell Center. The fire station 503 groundbreaking is next week, also on the 25th. And the Halloween Harvest Festival is next week on the 27th. So a lot of exciting things going on. The mobile unit for the library is also next week. So there's so many activities going on. I recommend, people getting on the city website. It'll tell you the many activities with the city. We have a lot going on, a lot of excitement, and great time of year. Well, today's a little warm, but it's gonna get cooler here soon.
It'll be a little warmer tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
Bob?
Thank you, Mayor, but no report tonight.
All right, excellent. Speaking of culture, our destination marketing organization has a new website. It's called experiencecasagrande.com. And it is went live today. So if you get a chance to go online and check that out, it's basically it's the destination marketing website. So it's a great site and links to a lot of different exciting stuff that's going on, including a new Taco Fest that we're going to kick off on March 30th, this 2024. And so you get a chance to experience all the great tacos that are made in Casa Grande. So it'll actually have more than just tacos. It's going to have Southwest cuisine, but that's the theme of it. It's a Taco Fest. So keep your eyes out and open for that. And just, I always like to give some little statistics, but for the Greater Phoenix economy, just to give you an update, August 2022 and 23, the Greater Phoenix market gained 45,000 new jobs. Now, that sounds really good, but it's down from last year, and last year, that same time period, they had 88,000 new jobs, so it's about half. So, anyway, I think the economy is still strong. And don't forget about the Casa Grande Chamber of Commerce Business Showcase at the property. It is October 18th from 5 to 7. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. I'll be in Yuma at the Rural Transportation Summit. So, but I'll be thinking about you.
I'll be getting my free toothbrushes.
All right, that's all I've got. So thank you, everyone, and we'll adjourn tonight's city council meeting. Thank you all. We do have one more thing to do, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jody.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Can we go on with this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the Mission Royale Community Facilities District Board. This is on our Monday, October 16th board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. The roll call show that all members are here and present. Item C is minutes from our last meeting of June 19th.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the Mission Royale CFD minutes of June 19th, 2023.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, new business. This is a public hearing. This is to consider and review the feasibility report relative to the proposed project to be financed by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the Mission Royale Community Facilities District. District Manager?
Yes, Chairman McFarland, members of the
Didn't know
board.
that was your title, Larry.
That's right. Appreciate that, Mr. Chairman.
Did you get paid for that?
No.
You get the same pay we do?
Exactly. So there are, Mr. Chairman, you outlined the 3 items that we're going to ask the board to consider this, or to actually take action on. Number 1 will be a public hearing related to the feasibility study that has been submitted. And then from there, there'll be a consideration of a resolution accepting that particular feasibility study. And then the second resolution will be a consideration to issue bonds. And so just a little bit of a background. I didn't know how many individuals would be sticking around in tonight's council meeting, but I thought I'd give a little history on the Mission Royale CFD because we have not actually had much activity in the recent decade. But on November 3rd, 2003, the council of the city formed the Mission Royale Community Facilities District, which held an election on December the 4th. General obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $6.5 million were authorized by the voters at that time. The district has previously issued bonds for the purpose of reimbursing the developer for public sewer infrastructure in an aggregated principal amount of $1.135 million, and there is currently no outstanding debt from that original issuance. The board likely recalls the fact that we paid off that debt a couple of years ago. I don't think we've levied a tax for the last 2 or 3 years now. And so with that, this evening, Mr. Chair, you'll find included in your packet a feasibility report that's been prepared that is in conjunction with the requirements of the Land Development Agreement and District, and outlines those particular public infrastructure items that are eligible for reimbursement. That is essentially what we're doing tonight. The developer has expended funds for public infrastructure that will ultimately be dedicated, and they have followed all the various state requirements and public bidding in order to get to this point. You'll find in that feasibility report a very thorough outline of what the public infrastructure has been completed in the various parcels of the Mission Royale CFD, but it primarily consists of sewer, roadway improvements, drainage, and the like. So everything that is actually eligible. The amount that has been expended to date is $4,096,682.75. You'll find the breakdown for the engineering, design, and construction of that public infrastructure, as well as the location in which the public infrastructure was actually built. The bond proceeds themselves, ultimately the proposed bond issuance would reimburse the developer. The $4,064,092 is proposed in the feasibility report, would establish a debt service fund in the amount of $143,758, and would cover the cost of issuance in the amount of $255,000. Once this transaction is completed and reimbursement made to the developer, and considering the initial issuance, the remaining general obligation bonding capacity that would remain in the CFD would be $1,075,000. So there could be, and we expect that there will be another bond issuance at some point, essentially reaching that 6.5. They continue to construct public infrastructure in the development, and in fact anticipate building out the Mission Royale CFD, the Mission Royale development in very short order. The debt service on a general obligation bond will be paid by the levy of a $1 secondary ad valorem property tax, which is essentially established by the agreement when it was initially formed, starting in fiscal year 24-25. And so there is not a tax implication this fiscal year, but starting next year as we begin to service debt, we'll have to levy that dollar. As the board is aware, we also levy 30 cents for operation and maintenance. So essentially, the $1.30, if you're assuming an average home price of $350,000, would ultimately result in about $30 per month, or about $360 annually to the homeowners out there. And so again, Mr. Chairman, we're asking that you open a public hearing to essentially consider and review the feasibility report. And following that, we will ask you to consider the approval of resolution number 75, which in essence approves the feasibility report and the acquisition and financing of certain improvements benefiting the district. And so with that, I'll pause, and then I'll cover the last bond issuance item when you're done with the public hearing.
Does council have any questions, or you want to have Larry before we?
And I would like to thank our external team, both Nick Dodd and Tim Stratton, who have sat through the entire evening with us this evening.
He did that to punish you both.
Have been very active on this project, as they always are on our various financing deals, and appreciate them coming down tonight and all the work they've done to get us to this point. And if you have any questions, technical questions, that I'd be happy to let them answer those as well.
Okay. All right, seeing no questions from up here, then I will open the public hearing on item D1. This is again the feasibility report. Okay. Seeing no one, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and then we'll consider approval of resolution number 75.
Resolution number 75, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Mission Royale Community Facilities District, City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the feasibility report relating to the acquisition and financing of certain improvements benefiting the district, declaring its preliminary intentions to issue not to exceed $5 million general obligation bonds to finance the acquisition of certain improvements as described in the feasibility report relating to such improvements pursuant to the provisions of Title 48, Chapter 4, Article 6, Arizona Revised Statutes, and all amendments thereto.
Chairman McFarland, I move that we approve resolution number 75 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Member Edwards.
Yes.
Member Huddleston.
Yes.
Member McBride.
Yes.
Member Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Member Herman.
Yes.
Member Lavender.
Yes.
Chairman McFarland.
Yes. And Larry, did you want to make comment on this next item?
Yeah, if I can, Mayor, just very briefly, obviously, the mayor and council is familiar with the typical resolution language related to the issuance, sale, and delivery of general obligation bonds. We've used them both in Mission Royale and Valago CFD in the past. There is one slight difference to the language that we're asking the board to consider tonight, and that has to do with assignment language that is transpiring in some of these CFD transactions. And essentially and in fact, the mayor and council considered an element on the city side on a consent agenda item earlier this evening. But ultimately, this language is essentially acknowledging the fact that the original developers that the city entered into agreements with have essentially sold the property to another, in this case, Meritage. And so we are consenting to the assignment and thereof. And so there's additional language that you may not have seen in other types of resolutions. But outside of that, Mayor, Mr. Chair, I would certainly stand ready for any questions that you may have.
Any questions, council? All right. Then I'll consider approval of resolution number 76. Go ahead.
Need some water for this
It's
long
a
title.
long one.
Yeah, this is a long one.
Resolution number 76. A resolution of the Board of Directors of Mission Royale Community Facilities District, City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of its general obligation bonds, Series 2023, providing for the annual levy of a taxation for the payment of the bonds, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of a bond registrar, transfer of agent and paying agent contract, a purchasing contract relating to the bonds, and a continuing disclosure undertaking, and certain other documents securing the payment of or relating to the bonds, authorizing the appointment of a registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for the bonds, ratifying and approving a preliminary official statement relating to the bonds, authorizing the preparation of a final official statement relating to the bonds, consenting to and acknowledgement of prior assignment and assumption of development, financing participation, and intergovernmental agreement number 1, awarding bonds to the purchaser thereof, adopting written continuing disclosure compliance procedures, and issuance and post-issuance tax compliance procedures in connection with the issuance of bonds of the district, taking other actions securing the payment of and relating to the bonds, and ratifying all actions taken or to be taken to further this resolution.
Chairman McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 76 as presented.
Second.
That is one long sentence. All right, having a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Member Edwards.
Yes.
Member Huddleston.
Yes.
Member McBride.
Yes.
Excuse me. Member Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Member Herman.
Yes.
Member Lavender.
Yes.
Chairman McFarland.
Yes. All right, I think that's it. So, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Does anybody want raffle tickets?